joining in. This is the meeting of the Board of Directors, Water Replenishment District of Southern California, and today is December 17th, 11 a.m. Pursuant to Governor Newsom's executive order, this meeting will be conducted via teleconference to minimize the spread of COVID. And members of the public may access this meeting telephonically. So, I think we're asking staff, can we determine a quorum? Director Allen?
Here.
Director Calderon?
Here.
Director Kaplan?
Here.
Director Murray?
Present. Murray, present.
President DeWitt? Present. Okay, that concludes item 1. We'll move on to item 2 of the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everyone please stand, face the flag or to the east, and join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you just remain standing, we're going to go to item 3, the invocation, and I've asked Director Calderon, can you grace us with a few words?
Thank you. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for allowing us a new day, new opportunity to work towards making decisions that will benefit the district, that will benefit the constituents, and we're going to pray that we can all have civil dialogue and reach the best decisions for our district. And thank you for allowing us to work with safeguarding natural resources.
That concludes the invocation. Thank you. We had a little difficulty, Director Calderon, but thank you so much for your words.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. Madam President, I just got a text message from Senator Archuleta's staff person saying it's difficult for people to hear us. Is there a way?
Just Calderon or Ken in general?
He said in general. Is there a way to turn the volume up, Ted?
Is everybody's microphones on at the dials, the green light?
Yes.
Yep. Mine's on.
Well, if you can hear me, if you're still having difficulty, text Director Catherine. Guys, we're going to go on. We are now at number 4, public comment. I just want, as presiding officer, I want to propose a modification in our normal agenda protocol. Those of you that wish to speak on public comments, you're welcome to do that as usual. You have 3 minutes. But if you're here on agenda item 7 and want to talk when we discuss agenda item 7, then hold off and we will allow you to speak when we get to item 7. But again, you're only speaking once and you're getting 3 minutes, and I think we'll just do that because I did receive criticism on that from the last meeting, so we'll just change and alter it a little bit. And without objection? Okay, seeing none, we'll start with the public comments. To make a public comment, press *5 on your phone to be placed in the queue. And when recognized and unmuted, please announce your name and affiliation for the record. All public comments are limited to 3 minutes, consistent with Section 6.2 of the District Administrative Code. At this time, any public comments received via email will be read as part of the record. So you can speak orally, verbally, or if you have a letter, that will be read. Okay? I see a couple of hands up. Is there any other hands up?
So right now there are 2 hands up, and if you're ready to receive the first?
Yes.
Okay. So we will be unmuting a caller whose last few digits are 9329. You have been unmuted? Oh, that looks like that person.
Oh, well, Mr. Kennedy, right?
Okay, so now we have on the line an anonymous block caller, so I'm not sure who this is, but you have probably heard that you are unmuted, so go ahead and speak, please.
Hi, good morning. This is Rick Polito from the city of Carson, resident, homeowner, environmentalist for many years. And I would like to say good morning to all the board and to the community, especially here in the WRD Division 5 area. Unfortunately, we have a pretty big mess here, and it seems like to me it's even possibly a cover-up. As from the last meeting where the Congresswoman Nanette Barragan spoke so eloquently, and now we have a congressional coalition speaking on behalf of slow down this process. Let's review it and do a methodically breakdown come January. There's no need to be rushing this today at this point. There's possible violations of several things. The FPPC Form 460s for all IE disclosures should be reviewed and should be brought to the attention of all the community and public regarding if any of the board members have received any funds directly or indirectly from the proposed man, Albert Robles. Secondly, I understand there could be, if this goes forward, the DA's office doing a public integrity possible investigation of any laws that have been violated within the Brown Act, within the HR process, and please let's subpoena all documents so that they can see them. I'd like to see the complete report of Robert's consulting services, who approved it and why it was done the way it was without letting the public see it. Where is that report? The contract that Al wrote with, I don't know if it was Vera or with the rest of the board over the weekend or the last few days, stipulates many things in it, and I'd like to see it stipulate one important thing, that there'll be no pension enhancements or any spiking of a pension. If this was to go through, which I believe is flawed and shouldn't, still has to be written in a form that this will not enhance Robles' already 25 years of service contract for services, if you will, as these 6 months. It's also not true that it's only half the amount that he would be getting. He's $275,000 6 months. If you double it for a year, it's the same as Mr. Whittaker's. I'd like to hear from Mr. Whittaker and his take on all this today. I'd like to review all the recruitment process and the hiring process, which I believe is flawed, the noticing, the rushing. It looks like it's alleged, it's possible that this is a sweetheart deal. This is a waste of taxpayers' dollars. You can hire your own staff, your own WRD are ready to handle this, I would think. I also would like to know what's going on with why not consider what's going on here right now.
Sir, you have 30 seconds.
Okay, let the general counsel, who is right in saying this was he said it was a termination, not a resignation. What's the legal term and the breakdown of detrimental reliance? I would like to see and hear about that, and how does that play in here. And lastly, there are civil lawsuits that are pending right now, and Mr. Robles has had one against our Carson City mayor-elect. What will that do to our city in getting its services? Him being involved with a lot of different things. I would say please postpone and stop this from going further. Thank you very much.
God bless. Your time is up. And, okay, we've noted all your comments. I'm not going to respond to each one. We're going to...
No. Next up is a caller whose extension ends in 2897. You have now been unmuted. 2897. Is your line muted?
Yes. Yes, this is President of the Water District. Good morning, Madam President, and the directors of the Water Replenishment District. On behalf of the Pico Water District, I would just like to wish you guys a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And that's it. I just wanted to, give you a call and hope you have a happy holiday. Thank you, and God bless you. Goodbye.
Oh, thank you so much for those kind words, especially at this time of the year when there's so much suffering because of the COVID-19. Thank you so much for your kind words. Appreciate it.
Okay, the last caller.
Before you speak.
Yes.
I got a note that there's difficulty understanding me. And what's different today is I got my mask on while I'm talking, so
Please take it off.
Your mask off, so I can take mine off. The other one,
I don't agree.
Keep it around the telephone. I think we should have it all.
Well, Madam President, is the microphone's not close to your mouth.
okay, we'll try it that way. All right, Mr. Johnson, who's next?
Okay, the last hand that is raised has the phone number that ends 9329. You've been unmuted.
Hi, this is Jim Kennedy. I live in the city of Los Angeles, and I represent myself. I would like to have 1 minute of general comment, and that is just to make it clear that the only reason we're able to reach you today via conference calls from a governor's order because of the extraordinary circumstances due to COVID. I would like one of the directors to make a motion to continue this operation past any kind of emergency situation so that the public can continue to call in via conference call or video to be able to participate even if they cannot make it to the actual office. So please make that consideration so that we can continue to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, but I'm not sure what you were asking us. Could you repeat that?
Yes, so prior to the governor's order, nobody was able to reach the board meetings because they
You
would
need
have to be
to attend the board meeting.
Yeah, to be able to call in to make public comment and to discuss the item.
And
I would like that to be able to continue past this emergency stipulation by the governor so that it's a continuous policy by the Water Replenishment District.
I get you now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? There's another hand raised.
Yes, this caller's extension ends in 1801. You've been unmuted.
Yes, good morning, board members. My name is George Perez here in the city of Cudahy, General Manager and President of Track 180 Water Company, representing the water ratepayers here in the city of Cudahy, a part of Bell and a very small part of Southgate. I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. You have a lot of important decisions before you today. I want to wish you the best on everything you do. And again, just want to wish you the best, and hopefully any decisions made will definitely be in the best interest of the entire district. And I thank you for giving me the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perez, for your kind words, and I know I can speak with full confidence that every member of this board will do what it can for WRD. We all have that in our best interest. Okay, is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Anyone else wishes to speak? Okay, well now we come to the part of we received, what, 20, 50? I don't know. We received a whole lot of letters. So we will have them read now, unless somebody raises an objection that you want to read your own letter in item 7. Absent seeing that, I'm going to call on our Assistant GM, Mr. Johnson, to begin.
Thank you. Yes, there are 20 correspondences here. And per comments, we will be limiting those to 3 minutes. There was one hand raised, though. Do you want to take that one first?
Let me ask a question, if I may.
Yes. Director Allen.
Thank you. Can we handle agenda items 5 and 6 and then move on? These letters concern themselves with agenda item 7. Just a request, if you want to go ahead, it's fine with me, but I just thought we'd move in an orderly fashion.
Before the public comment?
Well, my understanding, you just said if these public comments, you're going to speak on item 7, hold on your public comments until you get to item 7. And if he's going to read letters that concern item 7, we could do item 5 and 6 now. But if you wish to do them now, I can understand that.
Yeah, I'd like to do them now because the public knows that happens at the beginning of the meeting. Maybe somebody has somewhere else to go, so I think we should do it now. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
And there is one hand raised.
There's a hand that just popped up.
So we will take that caller. It ends in 8133. You've been unmuted.
Yes, good morning, board. My name is Francisco Carrillo. I'm the district director for Congresswoman Nanette Barragan.
I'd like to read the statement we submitted, whether it's now or during the item 7.
Do you have that?
I have that letter.
Okay, you want to read it into the record now? That's fine, Mr. Creel. Go ahead.
Okay, perfect. Great. Dear Board of Directors, I remain deeply concerned by the Water Replenishment District of Southern California Board's rushed actions to force out its current general manager and hire a special interim general manager. Members of the Los Angeles congressional delegation and the state legislature have sent a clear message to the WRD board. WRD should continue its initial plans to hire an independent recruitment firm to conduct an open, ethical, and transparent search to fill the general manager position. Additionally, WRD must allow the public adequate opportunity to communicate feedback about potential candidates. Doing anything short of that would be a disservice to the millions of residents served by the WRD and erode the trust and reputation of the WRD. For the last 4 years, this country has endured an administration which has no regard for facts, process, the law, or transparency. Individuals were hired because of relationships and political favors, not necessarily qualifications. Actions were taken in the dark of night or behind closed doors as not to draw attention to the matters. We don't need that lack of trust and lack of transparency undermining our local groundwater agency. Many cities, elected officials, and vendors who work with the WRD have expressed concern and opposition to the proposal before you today in the name of good governance. Moving forward today on the proposed action to haphazardly hire a new general manager without a meaningful search and oust your current general manager will tarnish the WRD's reputation and result in a waste of taxpayer dollars. Our groundwater is precious. The management of the largest groundwater agency is a serious matter that must be protected and is deserving of good governance. I continue to believe the board's conduct at its December 3rd meeting and today's board actions, motives behind these actions, and behind-the-scenes conversations may be best investigated by the Public Integrity Unit to ensure the public trust has not been abused. I encourage the board to weigh the fiscal implications and calls for transparency raised by the many stakeholders it represents as it considers the contract for a special interim appointment. Sincerely, Nanette Diaz-Barragan, Member of Congress.
Thank you, Mr. Carrillo. And I'm not going to, this is public comment, so we're supposed to listen to everybody, but when it comes to fake news or you state in your letter or the Congresswoman says about facts, then we need to deal with facts. We are not forcing GM Whitaker out the door. We're not ousting him. And I agree with you. An open process is what we need. So let's deal with the facts. Next speaker.
Well, if you're going to comment, let me comment.
All right.
Mr. Whitaker is not left. We have not relied on anybody since, in your statements, to the Congress people and to the state legislators, you say that we're going to get a new recruiting firm. And so
A new recruiting firm? No, I didn't.
And you're going to look for Mr. Robles to look for to guide us and not use the Roberts firm.
No, sir. That was not coming from me.
In any event, we have not relied to our detriment on the Roberts firm. Public employment is a matter of right by law, at least 50 years in this state. And so he has a public interest in his job. He gave us 4 months notice, that is Mr. Whitaker, before he told us that he was not going to be retiring. So he has not been terminated, and he has a contract with us through December 31st. So
when we get to item 7, we'll debate that to a greater extent. But again, fake news. I did not terminate. I do not want to go to a new recruiting firm. And here again, this is, well, I don't want to go into debate on this, but let's stick to the facts. Never did I say we go to a new recruiting firm. Never. So let's and when we get to item 7, we can discuss that in detail. Moving right along.
There is one more hand raised. That would be, the extension is 5979. Caller, you are now unmuted.
Yes, good morning. This is Director Martha Camacho Rodriguez from Central Basin, and I wanted to call in since we have a large audience of people who are more concerned about Albert Robles than the 43 contaminated wells in the region that I represent. And so it's super important for us to take the opportunity while you have the audience of these 9 officials who took their time to actually waste their constituents' time on directing a limelight on Mr. Robles when we should be talking about our contamination. So when we talk about notification limit, which is 5.1 for PFOA and 6.5 for PFOS, and then a response limit is 70 parts per trillion for PFOA, PFOS, and the sum of PFOA plus PFOS, we look at this map and we see, according to this map, that we have large numbers of wells, well beyond between the ranges of 25 to 100. And so as we look at the service area, I want to read off wells. So Central Basin, it would be the well in Pico Rivera, which would be 1 and 2. Pico Rivera Water District, that's the city. Well 1, well 2. Pico Water District, well 10, well 4, 04A. Montebello Land Water Company in Montebello, well 12, 9, well 08. Well 07, well 10, well 14. When we're talking about the California Water Service Company, ELA, Los Angeles, well 39-02, 2201, 43-01, 10-03, 13-02, well 54-01, well 11A, South Montebello Irrigation District, well 5, Pico Water District, well 8, South Montebello Irrigation District, well 3, La Habra Heights, well 8, 9, 10, 11A, which is West Whittier, Los Nietos, California Water Service ELA, well 63-01, Pico Water District, well 05A, Pico Rivera City Water Department, well 3, well 4, California Water Service Company, well 38-02, South Montebello Irrigation District, well 7, Montebello Land and Water Company, well 01, Pico Rivera City Water Department, 1112, Commerce City, 04L, 07-1, Pico Rivera City Water District, well 5, Downey, well 2, Pico Rivera, well 6, Downey, well 4, Pico Rivera City, well 7, Southgate, well 24, Downey, well 16, Downey, well 15, Park and Water, well 41-A, 28B, 40-B, Bellflower, Somerset, well 587.
Okay, Director Camacho Rodriguez, I'm just in a very impressive list of the 43 contaminated wells. Now, in the past, I've asked staff to respond to those folks that have requested or tell them what we're doing about whether it's these 43 wells or any specific wells. Have you not received any response from us as to the situation or the status of these 43 wells? I think you need to let her speak. Oh, no, I guess we can't, huh?
Staff has my email. It's marthac@centralbasin.org. And so if we could have staff put a correspondence on paper so that we have a paper trail between us, I would appreciate that.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we're in public comments right now, Director, but yes, you're entitled to that at the very least, and it was a very impressive list, so we will follow up on it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Another speaker?
No, that is
it.
So, Mr. Johnson, I hope you
Oops, somebody just raised their hand.
Uh-oh, somebody raised their hand.
Okay, a caller whose number ends in 5939. You have been unmuted.
Hello, Al Sattler. I'm just seeking clarification.
Oh, I can't hear you.
Huh? Can you hear me?
Ooh, can you speak into the microphone or a little louder?
Okay, I think I am. Is this?
There you go. That sounds better. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just seeking clarification about public comment. Whether you are taking public comment on item 7 at this point, or on other issues, or it's just a little bit confused for those of us who are only on the phone. And I guess I'd also like to comment for the future that it really would be great if you could do this by Zoom or another visual means also, so that everybody could see any visual presentations that are being done. Just something to think about for the future.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Sattler. The comments, as I said at the beginning of the meeting, is that we're going to let folks speak in public comments if they wish, or if they're here to speak or address agenda item number 7, they can wait until we get to agenda item number 7 and speak at that point. So if you are calling us about visual and Zoom meetings, I agree with you. We should put that up in a future agenda item, or put it to our staff to look into the possibility of visual meetings. I'm all for that. Did you have anything else you wanted to comment?
That's it for now. I might well, I will perhaps speak on other agenda items. Thank you.
All right, that was Mr. Sattler. Anyone else wish to speak? Anyone else wish to speak? Seeing none, staff, now will you read all the letters that came in?
Certainly, and now there's 19 letters to read since Congresswoman's letter has been read already. The first, and I will be reading these in the order in which we received them.
All right.
First one is the City of Lakewood. Dear President DeWitt, as a pumper in the region, the City of Lakewood respectfully expresses its concerns with Agenda Item 7 to be considered by the Deputy Board of Directors at its December 17th board meeting. Specifically, we have the following concerns. The appointment of a Special Interim General Manager, SIGM, who will serve alongside the incumbent General Manager for 3 months is highly unusual, especially since both persons in those respective positions would have the same responsibilities as outlined in Deputy's Administrative Code. The two concurrent positions could lead to confusion and misunderstanding as to their responsibilities and accountabilities if their duties are identical. If administrative issues arise and both persons disagree on a decision, what happens then? Additionally, while we understand the need for a transition period due to the current GM's upcoming retirement in March 2021, in our view, there really is not a transition in this situation because the SIGM will not be considered as a candidate to replace the GM. In cases where the top administrative officer has plans to leave, the governing body usually appoints an acting officer in their place, usually the assistant administrative officer, until the governing body, through a recruitment process, appoints a successor. This way, there is still only one person who is ultimately responsible and accountable. Since one of the SIGM's key tasks is to conduct a full review and audit of WRD programs, it is only through an independent lens that such a review and audit be undertaken to be effective. Mr. Robles' long history with WRD and his prior role in helping enact those same programs that will now be under review will make it impossible to result in an assessment that is impartial and unbiased. The staff report and President Robles DeWitt's open letter reference the cost savings that will be realized through salary and benefits. While it is commendable that the board takes seriously its use of public funds, the cost savings is misleading when the base salary is compared on a monthly basis. According to the Second Amendment of the current GM's contract agreement, the base salary is $363,800 or $30,317 per month. The proposed base salary for the SIGM for 6 months of service is $275,000 or $45,833 per month. In addition, while the proposed SIGM contract agreement precludes benefits currently received by the GM, it does entitle the SIGM to all other benefits that are given to WRD employees, including assistant general managers, except as provided herein in 3.2. It is unknown what other benefits are provided, as the proposed agreement does not explicitly enumerate these other benefits. The SIGM will also be part of CalPERS, with their future retirement benefit enhanced by a jump in base salary. Furthermore, the overlapping of the GM and SIGM for 3 months will result in a base salary cost of $228,450, not including the salaries of other administrative officers in the GM's office. If President Robles DeWitt and the board are truly concerned with excessive management costs, would it not be a prudent option to appoint the interim near the end of this agreement? Okay, there was one more paragraph, but that was signed Todd Rogers, Mayor.
Again, I'm going to, in the interest of fake news or false statements, the $250,000 thousand salary that was referenced in that letter, that is an annualized 12 months, and that is not what is going to be the 6-month period of time. So let's just make sure we understand that that's a misunderstanding. And that's not,
According to the contract, as I read it several times, it says he will be paid on an annual rate. He will be paid $275,000.
an annual rate.
No, right there in,
Well, okay, well, we're not going to debate the contract at this
well, if
time.
you're going to comment, I'm going to comment.
All right, well,
And it says right there in 1.12 of the agreement, I'll read it into the record.
well, I think that your understanding of it and my understanding of it disagrees. So when we get to item 7, you and I can debate it.
Well, excuse me, but I am going to read it into the record.
Well, it's going to be read into the record. When we get to item 7, let's finish the letters.
I'm sorry, it's 3.1. The Sigma salary shall be $275,000.
Director Allen, come on.
Payable in installments on regular payroll dates
Director
and subject
Allen,
to normal. Ma'am, I
Director-
would rather you not interrupt me.
Well,
I did
I would
interrupt
rather you
I would
not,
like to be able to speak, and I'm going to read this into the record, whether you like it or not.
then do it under
The
agenda
Sigma
item 7.
salary
That's when
shall
we should
be
be reading on that, not at this point of
$275,000
public
Payable in
information.
installments on regular payroll dates and
Look
subject
at
to normal
you.
pay. Could you let me read this in? Thank you.
You want to go on with the next letter?
The next letter we received was from the Baptist Ministers Conference of Los Angeles and Southern California. Dear WRD Board of Directors, we want to applaud the WRD for moving forward in the right direction to make the management of your water district begin to look more like our community. In the words of President Lincoln, the United States of America was conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal, and that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. However, in order to fully fulfill this promise, our government must necessarily not only be of the people, for the people, but also look like the people. And while we previously made great strides in this regard, this was severely tested over the last 4 years, directly and indirectly, with alternative facts and blatant hypocrisy and double standards. As we turn a new page with a Biden-Harris administration, let us also end this period of pretextual duplicity, thank you, including and specifically in the employment context, because if an employment standard was good enough for one, barring some exceptional circumstance, it should remain sufficient and adequate for any and all prospective black and brown employees too. Which brings me back to WRD. As we understand it, 70% of the residents in WRD's service area are black and brown, yet amazingly, only WRD's 11 management positions, none are African American, and only 2 are Latino. And this is in the most progressive state in the union. Thus, WRD seems to be failing in doing its part to fulfill the promise. However, with the recent hiring of Albert Robles as WRD General Manager, some, we say, progress is made. But as we further understand it, some do not care for this most recent hiring. If someone does not like Albert Robles for whatever legal reason, or if they wanted someone else to be the next WRD General Manager, that is their prerogative. But they should have the courage to say it publicly and not use a pretextual, clearly bogus excuse that he is not qualified because he does not meet a new employment standard never before implemented. This tactic of moving the goalposts and having a double standard when it comes to hiring black and brown individuals cannot go unchallenged. If the job description for Deputy General Manager does not require that person hired be a professional engineer, PE, or have an engineering degree, and Deputy has never in its history ever had such a requirement, it should not be required now. In fact, the general managers of other water districts in the area are not PEs nor have engineering degrees. For example, the general manager of Metropolitan Water District, among the largest water districts in the country with an annual budget of almost $2 billion and close to 2,000 employees, is not a PE and does not have a degree in engineering. Instead, he has an undergraduate degree in history and law from the Santa Clara University, the number 107th best-ranked law school by U.S. News and World Report. Another example among many more is the general manager of West Basin Municipal Water District with an annual budget of over $200 million and about 80 employees and at least 2 times bigger than WRD, is also not a PE and does not have a degree in engineering.
Fine.
Okay, there's a little bit more and it will be entered into the record, the letters. The next one is from the Southeast Water Coalition. Dear Ms. Board President and Honorable Board members, This letter is to express our concerns with the action taken on agenda item number 7 of the December 3rd, 2020 Water Replenishment District WRD Board meeting. Despite hearing nearly an hour of public comments voicing opposition from pumpers, community members, environmental advocates, a union representative, and elected officials, the WRD Board of Directors voted to approve Albert Robles as the GM effective January 1st, 2021. The board also codified that Mr. Robles will be installed with a salary similar to the current general manager who has held that position for 15 years. More concerningly, now it appears that the current general manager, Rob Whitaker, will remain in that position until the end of 2021, which means as of the beginning of the new year, the Water Replenishment District will be paying 2 salaries for 1 position. The mission of the Southeast Water Coalition, CWAC, is to improve and protect the quantity and quality of the Central Basin regional water supply. CWAC's 11-member cities, Cerritos, Commerce, Downey, Lakewood, Norwalk, Paramount, Pico Rivera, Santa Fe Springs, Southgate, Vernon, and Whittier, join with Congresswoman Annette Diaz-Barragan and her fellow elected officials in Southeast Los Angeles in expressing grave concern over the actions taken at the December 3rd board meeting. All 11 CWAC member cities are served by the Water Replenishment District and have maintained good relationships with the WRD in order to address the critical and complex water quality issues affecting the Central Basin. The Southeast Water Coalition requests that the WRD Board of Directors reconsider their decision to appoint a new general manager and instead focus on the following issues: conducting a thorough nationwide recruitment process for the general manager position that interviews top candidates with technical expertise and water resource management experience. District conducts the recruitment process with full transparency and access for the public and district stakeholders. Review and uphold the processes outlined in the district's administrative code and the Brown Act in properly agendizing and taking action on board meeting items. Work with purveyors, union leaders, elected officials, and the public to renew and uphold the trust and credibility that the Water Replenishment District has worked so hard to attain. As an advocate for water policies that ensure the availability of reliable, quality, and affordable water, the Southeast Water Coalition urges the Water Replenishment District to cure the actions taken at their December 3rd, 2020 board meeting that have damaged the reputation of the agency and return to a policy of transparent, good governance, and fiscal responsibility. Sincerely, Aurelia Royal, Mayor Pro Tem, City of Commerce.
Thank you.
A little sip of water here. The next letter is from the City of Signal Hill. As Dear Board President and Provost DeWitt and Honorable Board members, as a pumper in the region, the City of Signal Hill respectfully expresses its concerns with agenda item number 7 to be considered by the WRD Board of Directors at its December 17, 2020 board meeting and requests this letter be read into the public record. Specifically, we have the following concerns. Appointment of a special interim general manager, SIGM. Interim appointments are traditionally utilized to provide temporary professional services in response to a position vacancy. At this time, there is no vacancy since there is an active incumbent GM. The proposed employment agreement for the position of special interim general manager states the following. The recruitment process specifically envisioned by Mr. Whitaker provided a time when Mr. Whitaker would assist and advise the new general manager to allow for a seamless and transition plan as possible. The public recruitment process has not concluded and the board has not appointed a general manager for Mr. Whitaker to assist and advise. Mr. Whitaker, the incumbent GM, should continue to oversee Roberts Consulting for the recruitment of a new GM as envisioned in November 2020. 2. Staff redundancy. The proposed agreement states the following. 1.2. Duties and authority. A. General. The SIGM shall be the special interim general manager of WRD, have all the duties and authorities of the general manager, and likewise be responsible to the WRD Board of Directors for the proper administration of the affairs of WRD as set forth in the recitals in this section 1.2. WRD currently has an appointed individual, the incumbent GM, who is responsible for those functions and duties specified in the provision above. It is unclear why WRD would need to appoint a second individual to be responsible for these same functions and duties. 3. Objectivity of proposed review and audit. The board has identified a commendable goal of conducting a complete top-down review of WRD, its management, finances, and policies. The proposed agreement states the following. Initiating a full review and audit of WRD programs, procedures, finances, regulations, and administrative code with the purpose of being able to make recommendations to the WRD Board of Directors and or the new general manager for changes and reforms to improve WRD operations. For such an audit to be effective, it should be led by an impartial, independent party. Mr. Robles' history with WRD and his prior involvement in those same programs that will now be under review will make it difficult to propose an assessment that is objective and unbiased. In addition, a truly transparent and fiscally responsible approach to retaining professional services to conduct an audit and any other special projects would be to utilize a professional procurement process with a formal request for proposals which considers qualifications and values of services, among other criteria. There is more, but seeing I'm running out of time, I'll just go for a few more seconds here. Lack of fiscal prudence. The staff report and President Robles.Los' open letter reference cost savings related to the hiring of the SIGM. We appreciate that the board takes seriously its responsibility to be a steward of public funds. However, the details of the providing cost savings and associated benefits are incomplete and misleading. There is more, but as you can see, we've run out of time. So the full entire letter will be part of the record.
Part of the record, yes. Thank you.
I won't
You
need
okay?
I won't need the timer on this one, Dina.
We may,
Sure.
would you feel better if we switched off between the two staff?
If anybody else would like to, that's fine, but I'm still okay. Thank you very much. I can keep going a little bit longer. This one is from Congressman Alan Lowenthal. Dear honorable board members, I am deeply concerned about recent actions taken by this board that have diminished the public's trust in the leadership and service of the Water Replenishment District. I strongly encourage the board to reconsider the hiring of a special interim general manager. The selection and hiring of managerial level positions should be done in a fully transparent and public manner. The services you are responsible for are far too important to be conducted improperly. As stewards of one of our most precious resources, the public deserves to be well informed about any action that could impact the quality and cost of their water services. Especially in the midst of a pandemic, when people are consistently mindful of washing their hands and other surfaces, residents need to know that their water is safe and affordable. With many families out of work or struggling to put food on a table, residents should at least feel confident that their tax dollars are being used efficiently. There is not a clear understanding why an additional managerial level position is needed at this time. I encourage this board to continue this discussion and to reconsider the hiring of an interim general manager until it would be fiscally responsible and absolutely necessary for the continual delivery of services. This board has faced difficult challenges in the past and continued to provide outstanding services to the residents of Southern California. I am confident that your commitment to clean and affordable water will guide your decision. Sincerely, Alan Lowenthal.
Congressman.
Member of Congress, yes, Congressman. Okay, this one is from the West Basin Water Rights Panel. Dear WRD Board President Robles.Los and honorable board members, on behalf of the West Basin Water Rights Panel, I am writing to express our grave concern regarding the recent action taken by the Water Replenishment District's Board of Directors in its recruitment process for the position of Assistant General Manager, and Special Interim General Manager. While we recognize and respect the board's independence in the selection of its general manager, we urge the board to operate in a fair, transparent, and ethical manner. Since the actions taken at the December 3rd, 2020 WRD board meeting and lack of transparency or sufficient public discussion, we have received numerous calls from water rights holders in the West Coast Basin expressing concern and outrage over the appointment process. The executive level positions require significant technical and professional expertise to manage an organization that oversees a myriad of complex and technical issues. After review and consideration of the information that we've received, including minutes from the December 3rd meeting and discussions with our members, we hereby express our strong opposition to the lack of transparency and ethics. As a co-equal partner in the court-appointed role as Water Master of the West Coast Basin under the amended judgment dated December 5th, 2014, the Water Rights Panel believes it is imperative that WRD, as the administrative body arm of the Water Master, act in accordance with the highest professional and ethical standards and resist actions that will bring about scrutiny or cast doubt into the legitimacy or ability of WRD to serve in this capacity. While the panel recognizes that the board has full agency over its hiring practices, we must also point out that WRD also has an obligation to fulfill its duties as the Water Master under the judgment. This no doubt involves ensuring that its executive leaders possess the technical expertise and operational experience necessary to meet the special challenges of managing and protecting regional groundwater resources and complying with court mandates under the amended judgment. The potential implications and litigation that could arise from the lack of transparency and ethics could lead to an increase for all ratepayers in both the West and Central Basins. From the information the panel has received, the panel is significantly concerned with the transparency and ethics taken by the board. The recent actions of the board not only jeopardize its reputation and erodes the trust of affiliated agencies, it can also potentially undermine WRD's administrative body role as water master. The panel is gravely concerned that the board's actions will ultimately prevent it from serving effectively under the judgment. We hope the board will reverse its current course of action and commit to conducting a fair, open, and transparent recruitment and seeking a highly qualified candidate to serve as WRD's next general manager. For the sake of transparency, it is requested that this letter, as well as other letters received on this subject from other parties, be entered into the public record, and that this letter be read aloud at the regular WRD board meeting on December 17th and made part of the permanent record. Sincerely, Sean Igo, Chairperson of the West Basin Water Rights Panel. This next letter is from the UCLA Water Resources Group. Excuse me. Dear President Robles.Los, thank you for scheduling another public meeting to discuss the appointment of a new general manager and/or assistant general manager for the district. In the last 12 years, I have worked with the Water Replenishment District as Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board member and chair, and in my capacity as a UCLA water researcher focusing on water governance in Los Angeles County and Southern California. My assessment after that experience is that WRD is a unique government agency that plays an essential role in the region. WRD plays a leading role in local water independence, groundwater management, water quality improvement, and protecting the critical groundwater basins from saltwater intrusion, to name a few. WRD has led the state in many different endeavors it undertakes for the benefit of water pumpers and the 4 million residents in the groundwater basins it serves. The board and staff deserve much credit for this. However, I was very concerned to learn about your last meeting regarding a new general manager. The new candidate was nominated and approved during board discussions. The candidate might be qualified, but made no job application and did not undergo a normal review. This action contrasted with the normal deliberative process of your board. You and your board colleagues are at a critical transition point as you decide about new management. Please focus on a transition from the current management to a new team management with the same extraordinary set of skills and expertise that has made WRD a respected and trusted agency. Use the normal, trusted process of advertising the position, obtaining and reviewing applications, and interviewing candidates. If you want to improve diversity, then make that a goal and consider it in your evaluation process. As you focus on improving employee diversity in management, do so by selecting candidates that represent the community and have the best record in leadership of innovative water agencies, along with great technical and management skills and interpersonal skills. Frankly, it will be very difficult to replace Rob Whitaker. Please aspire to hire somebody who can fill his shoes and reflect the community's diversity. Alternatively, hire the current assistant general manager and fill his position with an equally qualified person who reflects the composition of the region. WRD is an unparalleled success in contributing to the goal of affordable, high quality, and reliable water for the water systems you serve and, in turn, the people they serve. It is essential that WRD maintain the high level of regard you have in the region with the stakeholders, community, and pumpers, as well as with government funders and regulators. I am particularly concerned about the effect of a difficult or controversial management transition on WRD's ability to sustain the extremely successful disadvantaged water system program. All of your success in that program depends on the trust WRD has built with its staff, with the state, with the pumpers, and the community. If the transition is not orderly, above board, and based on clear criteria, the result might compromise the trust you have worked so hard to build. The legislature gave WRD a special appropriation to study and evaluate the 29 disadvantaged water systems within your boundary in 2021. The legislature wanted to ensure that other DAC systems, disadvantaged community systems, okay, thank you. There was just a couple more sentences, and that's from Madeline Glickfield, Director, UCLA Water Resources Group. The next letter is from the Sierra Club. Dear members of the Board of Directors, On behalf of Sierra Club Angeles Chapter Water Committee and our more than 40,000 Angeles Chapter members and supporters within Los Angeles and Orange counties, thousands of whom reside in the area served by the Water Replenishment District, we write to express our deep concern about recent actions by the WRD Board of Directors that will undermine WRD's reputation with the public and inhibit its ability to carry on its mission. We understand that the public integrity and credibility of our water boards is a critical component to getting water projects and programs funded and implemented. The WRD is part of the backbone for our region's water sustainability future as the largest groundwater agency in the state of California. Your mandate to manage and protect local groundwater resources for over 4 million residents is critically important. The vote cast at your December 3rd, 2020 board meeting to replace WRD's general manager is without precedent or justification. The board acted on a motion that was not agendized, thereby precluding the public from having the opportunity to engage and provide feedback in line with the intent of the Brown Act. During that meeting, the WRD's own counsel clearly and repeatedly advised that the motion could not be made in compliance with the law. Nonetheless, the president of the board of directors disregarded the advice of counsel and some board members' concerns and moved forward with the unnoticed motion to appoint a replacement general manager effective January 1st. Recruitment and hiring of a public agency's general manager should be public, completely transparent, and without any appearance of favoritism. Managers with the appropriate background and expertise in complex water issues are critical for maintaining public confidence in WRD's ability to act in the best interest of its ratepayers and consumers. If the board's current selection stands, it's hard to see how the public can trust future decisions made by the board or its staff. Sierra Club expects the WRD board to reconsider its December 3rd decision to hire a replacement general manager. With that decision voided, recruitment of a replacement general manager can proceed with sufficient time set aside for consideration of candidates and public comments. Selection should not be based on political considerations. Rather, candidates should be vetted to ensure they have the appropriate background and expertise to oversee WRD's complex and varied operations. This process is too important. There can be no excuse for circumventing it. WRD's actions in replacing its general manager needlessly compromises the district's integrity and squanders public trust. We ask that the board reconsider its hiring decision and revisit how it will conduct future business so we never again witness such an abuse of power. Sincerely, Charming Evelyn, Chair, Water Resources Committee, Sierra Club Chapter.
You okay?
Okay, this next one was just by Maria Lucia Rodriguez. Dear members of the Board of Directors, I'm addressing this major concern that the residents of the Water Replenishment District have about your agenda for your December 17th meeting. Many of us living in the district want you to stop this gross abuse of public trust, as it is clear to me you are trying to give large amounts of ratepayers' money to Mr. Robles only as an act of favoritism to spike his public pension. If you succeed with this dishonest abuse of power, then the WRD will become the most corrupt water board in all of Southern California. This entire process of trying to find a way to hire an unqualified manager only because he was voted out of office by the people is simply wrong. The idea for this appears to be coming from the current president of your board, Ms. DeWitt. Research shows she has had no background with water issues and never should have been appointed to the board in the first place. She is unqualified. Further research shows she operated a bail bond business in which she was sued by her own insurance company for over $1 million for fraud. Because she lost the lawsuit, she needed a political appointment to the WRD replacing Robles when the court removed him as a director for violating state law. Now Director DeWitt, a close political associate of Mr. Robles, has apparently conspired with Mr. Robles to spike his pension on the backs of California taxpayers. If you, the members of the WRD board, vote to hire Robles now, we, the people of the WRD, demand you resign from your elected position. Starting with Director DeWitt, you should resign from office immediately because you are the only one pushing so hard to abuse the public trust. Sincerely, Maria Lucia Rodriguez. The next letter is from the City of Torrance. Dear Ms. DeWitt, the City of Torrance would like to express our deep concerns with agenda item number 7 that appeared on the Water Replenishment District's December 3rd, 2020 meeting regarding the selection of a new general manager and assistant general manager. At the meeting, the Deputy Board members, by a 3-2 vote, selected former Carson Mayor Albert Robles as the new General Manager to replace longtime General Manager Rob Whitaker, who is planning to retire in March 2021. This board action is likely a violation of the district's administrative code and possibly the Brown Act, since the agenda did not list Mr. Robles as a candidate for the position of General Manager. This decision to appoint a new General Manager that was not listed as a candidate was not transparent nor in the best long-term interest of the district, its reputation, and its constituents, and we urged the Deputy Board to reconsider this rash action. The Deputy plays a vital role in maintaining the reliability and resilience of our local groundwater basins and resources. The recruitment of the best qualified candidate for both General Manager and Assistant General Manager positions is critical to ensuring the district has continued success. Both positions require extensive technical, managerial, organizational, leadership, and water policy experience and specific expertise. It is imperative that the district recruit the best qualified candidates for both positions as it embarks on some of the most important and challenging programs in its history, including per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS, remediation, regional brackish groundwater desalination, groundwater recovery, and advanced stormwater capture and treatment programs. The City of Torrance and the WRD have fostered a long and mutually beneficial partnership over the last 20 years, and we do not wish to see it jeopardized or the credibility of your agency diminished. We respectfully request that the District Board reverse its decision that was taken at the December 3rd, 2020 meeting on the hiring of the new General Manager and conduct a thorough recruitment for a water professional who has the requisite technical expertise in the area of groundwater and water resources management. Should you have any questions regarding the City of Torrance's request, please do not hesitate to contact me or any of my colleagues. Sincerely, Patrick Fury, City of Torrance Mayor. My computer screen went blank. Turn it back on.
What happened?
My battery needed to wake up here on my computer. Sorry. Okay, the next letter is from the union, the AFSCME Local 1902 WD chapter. Subject objectives to item 7. The WD chapter of AFSCME or AFSCME 1902 wishes to express deep concern regarding the actions of the board proposes to take at its December 17, 2020 meeting. The union fears the board is exercising questionable judgment and permanently damaging WRD by approving a special interim general manager contract with Albert Robles. The union believes the board is performing this action in violation of the WRD Admin Code's prohibition on votes where there is an actual or apparent conflict of interest. The union has issued multiple grievances associated with the board's previous action on this matter and reserves the right to grieve these and any other issues that arise today as a result of the board's conduct today. Accordingly, we issue the following objections. Objection 1, sixth employment contract or as statement must be stricken. It is an extreme breach of business etiquette and professionalism to ever disclose or gossip about the details of a business conversation. It is unheard of to discover such details in a public contract, especially if the details are twisted to justify an action that a party has vigorously opposed. In the 6th whereas paragraph of Albert Robles' contract recital, it states that the union president of AFSCME 1902 asserted that rampant favoritism and nepotism were a problem at WRD. The union president never stated that nepotism was a problem. The union's president comments regarding favoritism were meant to encourage Albert Robles and the board to follow the standard hiring procedures. It was the union president's position that the board's actions would hurt Mr. Robles' professional reputation. Amongst other things, the union president told Mr. Robles that if he didn't go through the process, his appointment would be tainted by the perception of favoritism and preferential hiring. The union president repeated this assessment to the board president, Vera Robles DeWitt, and entreated her to use the normal selection process for this and other reasons. These requests were summarily refused. It is beyond irony that the effects of the union president to urge an open and transparent process are now used to justify a contract that was anything but the product of an open, fair, and competitive process. The union strongly objects to the use of this public contract for political purposes, is extremely offended by this breach of trust. The union demands that the 6th whereas statement be stricken from the contract and demands a public apology for this offense. Objection 2, Sergio Calderon must recuse himself. Public records show that Albert Robles has served as the attorney for Director Sergio Calderon. Director Calderon has not answered any of the union's questions on this, including the question, did you ever pay Albert Robles for his services? It's a simple question. Why no answer? Conflict of interest under the admin code is found if a party has engaged in any business transaction or transactions on terms not available to the general public. Free of legal services definitely fall under this category. If Director Calderon will not say he paid Albert Robles fair market value for legal services, he must recuse himself from any vote that confers a benefit on Albert Robles both now and in the future. And I'm sorry that there was one more objection, but we're out of time. We'll keep that as part of the record.
Okay.
Getting down there, there's only 8 more.
Thank you. Appreciate what you do.
This letter is from the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. Dear Honorable Board members, we are writing in response to Agenda Item 7 related to the hiring of a special interim general manager to urge you to follow through with your commitment to a rigorous and transparent search to find the most qualified candidate to serve as the next general manager for the Water Replenishment District. As supervisors for the 1st and 4th supervisorial districts in the County of Los Angeles, we represent the residents within WRD's service area, all of whom depend on WRD's careful oversight of our region's groundwater basins for a reliable water supply. In recent years, and under the leadership of the current general manager and your board, WRD has accrued a long list of exemplary achievements in sustainable water management, including your long history of work on water recycling, your staff's active involvement in the county's Measure W process, and future plans to address historic brackish groundwater contamination. We are also grateful for WRD's assistance of smaller water agencies to address drinking water quality challenges that have long plagued communities in our region. This work has resulted in a well-earned reputation for WRD as a critical and trusted partner in advancing local water goals. In order for WRD to retain its reputation and the public's trust, it is imperative that the next general manager be selected through a process that is transparent and accessible to the communities you serve. We commend the board's responsiveness to concerns expressed at the previous meeting over the process, which is reflected in its rescinding plans to immediately appoint a new general manager. Our concerns remain, however, due to a lack of clarity on several key points, some of which were raised in the previous meeting. Before the board acts on this agenda item, we ask that you clarify what the financial implications are for WRD in relation to the current general manager's withdrawal of his resignation, as well as the potential replacement of the recruitment firm previously hired by the board. The communities that WRD serves deserve assurance that funds are being spent responsibly, ethically, and inclusively in order to best support disadvantaged communities. On behalf of the Los Angeles County's 1st and 4th supervisorial districts, we respectively request that before the board acts, that you clearly outline and commit to a selection process that is transparent and results in the most qualified candidates being selected to lead this esteemed agency, which we and so many in the region have come to rely on as a crucial partner. Sincerely, Hilda Solis and Janice Hahn, County Supervisors. This next letter came in as an email. It's from, I'll just read it.
I'm sorry, from what?
From Robert Fellner. My name is Robert Fellner, and I am the Executive Director of Transparent California, a nonprofit dedicated to improving transparency and efficiency in government. I am writing today about agenda item number 7, the proposed interim GM contract for Mr. Albert Robles. This is the first time I have ever seen a contract for a period as short as 6 months require inclusion in the CalPERS system. Put simply, there is no reason for a short-term employee to enroll in CalPERS, as the cost of doing so would outweigh the benefits to both employer and employee. After reviewing records provided by CalPERS related to Mr. Robles' current pension status, it appears that the only possible justification for enrolling Mr. Robles into CalPERS for these 6 months is to facilitate pension spiking that could end up costing the district over $2.5 million in the long run. Although not reflected in the contract, enrolling Mr. Robles into CalPERS would cost the district an additional $82,000 in estimated annual CalPERS contributions. Thus, the contract misleads the public by omitting these costs. More importantly, however, is the fact that there is no logical explanation for why Mr. Robles or the district would want to incur these costs other than pension spiking. If pension spiking were not a factor, the cost of being enrolled in CalPERS for just these 6 months would greatly exceed the future benefit received for such a short period of time. In other words, both Mr. Robles and the district would be better served by replacing CalPERS with a 401k style benefit. To summarize, there are only 2 possible scenarios here. The inclusion of CalPERS membership in a contract was an intentional decision designed to help facilitate pension spiking, which will cost the district millions of dollars. In that scenario, board approval could be construed as an act of public corruption. Alternatively, pension spiking is not intended. If that is the case, both Mr. Robles and the district would be better served by removing CalPERS membership from the contract and replacing it with a 401k style benefit, cash payment in lieu of a retirement plan, or any other similarity transparent arrangement that doesn't threaten to expose the district to millions of dollars in long-term liabilities. I thus urge the board to either vote to deny the contract as proposed or approve only after such an amendment is made. Sincerely, Robert Fellner, Executive Director, Transparent, California. Okay, this next letter is from the City of Santa Fe Springs. Director President DeWitt, as mayor of the City of Santa Fe Springs that represents the same 18,000 constituents you represent in District 5, I want to express my deep concerns with agenda item number 7 to be considered by the WRD Board of Directors at its December 17th board meeting. The appointment of a special interim general manager, SIGM, who will serve alongside the incumbent general manager, GM, for 6 months is highly unusual and appears to be a blatant backroom political deal. The 2 concurrent positions will cause organizational chaos and is fiscally irresponsible. If you have an existing good standing general manager who has a valid contract that runs until December 2021, there is no need to entertain a replacement at this time, especially if his retirement was held up indefinitely. Since one of the SIGM's key tasks is to conduct a full review and audit of WRD programs, it only makes sense that such a review and audit be undertaken to be effective if completed by an objective entity. Mr. Robles' long history with WRD as an elected board member and his leadership role in helping enact those same programs that will now be under review will make it impossible to result in an assessment that is impartial and unbiased. In your open letter that was drafted on December 14th to justify your action of hiring a second general manager, you state at the December 3rd WRD board meeting that you had a debate with the board's general counsel concerning his opinion that the board was terminating Mr. Whitaker's contract by hiring Mr. Robles. If you were a responsible board member, you would have heeded his legal opinion, not ignore it. You are not an attorney, and it is irresponsible to believe you know more than your professional educated attorney. In that same open letter, you stated as president of WRD that you have the duty to be responsive to the public. However, you disregarded 6 mayors from District 5 that represent the same constituents you do by not changing your position. In conclusion, your open letter was summed up with a number of statements of how your opponents were wrong to fear Mr. Robles' lack of qualifications and that it is wrong to fear that the recruitment process will not be open and legally completed, and it is wrong to fear that the WRD board will waste resources. It is true that your constituents do have these fears, but they are not wrong. Furthermore, the biggest fear that you did not mention is that you and the majority of the board are going to throw away 15 years of providing good governance and go back to being a corrupt government agency that participates in unethical backroom deals. Sincerely, John Mora, Mayor. This next letter is from a consortium of Heal the Bay, Friends of Ballona Wetlands, and the Natural Resources Defense Council. Dear Honorable Board Members, on behalf of Heal the Bay, Friends of Ballona Wetlands, and the Natural Resources Defense Council, we respectfully submit the following comments on the recent actions taken by Water Replenishment District's Board of Directors on December 3rd, 2020. Our groups have long advocated for maximizing local water resources, such as through groundwater replenishment with recycled water and stormwater, thereby creating a more sustainable water supply. WRD has shown leadership in promoting sustainable water sources and commitment to education and community stewardship. As the largest groundwater agency in the state of California, managing and protecting local groundwater resources for millions of residents is critically important. However, we were discouraged to learn of the recent actions taken by the board at the December 3rd, 2020 board meeting. The actions taken at that meeting to replace WRD's general manager were neither transparent nor respectful of the public process, and furthermore, they appear to be in violation of the Brown Act. We ask that the board ensures that the process to replace the retiring general manager or hire top-level positions be public, transparent, and in accordance with the Brown Act. WRD's constituents and the environment deserve an open and transparent process in which public comments are taken into consideration and where the candidates are vetted and have the appropriate background and expertise in water issues. Further, the financial implications of the hiring need to be taken into account and discussed, particularly in terms of their impacts on ratepayers. Taking these actions will rebuild trust from the public and nonprofit organizations alike. Ensuring an appropriate public process is particularly important during the ongoing global COVID-19 pandemic. Many people are facing extreme hardship, and not everyone has equal access to be able to participate in remote meetings. We recommend that additional efforts be undertaken to ensure that the public is adequately notified and that extra time is given for public review periods. In summary, we urge the WRD Board to take actions to rebuild public trust and uphold the respected reputation of WRD with community partners. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. Catherine Pease, the Discreet of Science, Heal the Bay, Scott Culbertson, Executive Director, Friends of Bionda Wetlands, and Corrine Bell, Program Attorney, Natural Resources Defense Council.
Now you're looking at me. Does that mean that that's the last letter?
No, it means I'm stretching my neck a little bit.
Oh,
There are.
are you okay?
I'm fine. Yes, I'm going to make it through. There's 4 more letters. 4 more. And this one is from the City of Paramount. Dear Board President Robles.Los and Honorable Board members, the City of Paramount respectfully expresses its concerns with Agenda Item Number 7 to be considered by the Deputy Board of Directors at its December 17th board meeting. Specifically, we have the following concerns. 1. The appointment of a special interim general manager who will serve alongside the incumbent general manager for 3 months is highly unusual, especially since both persons in those respective positions would have the same responsibilities as outlined in WRD's administrative code. The 2 concurrent positions could lead to confusion and misunderstanding as to their responsibilities and accountabilities if their duties are identical. If administrative issues arise and both persons disagree on a decision, what happens then? 2. Additionally, while we understand the need for a transition period due to the current GM's upcoming retirement in March 2021, in our view, there really is not a transition in this situation because the SIGM will not be considered as a candidate to replace the GM. In cases where the top administrative officer has plans to leave, the governing body usually appoints an acting officer in their place, usually the assistant administrative officer, until the governing body, through a recruitment process, appoints the successor. This way, there is still only one person who is ultimately responsible and accountable. 3. Since one of the SIGM's key tasks is to conduct a full review and audit of WRD programs, it is only through an independent lens that such a review and audit be undertaken to be effective. Mr. Robles' long history with WRD and his prior role in helping enact those same programs that will now be under review will make it impossible to result in an assessment that is impartial and unbiased. The agenda report and President Robles-Los' open letter reference the cost savings that will be realized through salary and benefits. While it is commendable that the board takes seriously its use of public funds, the cost savings is misleading when the base salary is compared on a monthly basis. According to the Second Amendment to the current GM's contract agreement, the annual base salary is $363,800 or $30,317 per month. The proposed base salary for the SIGM for 6 months of service is $275,000 or $45,833 per month. In addition, while the proposed SIGM contract agreement precludes benefits currently received by the GM, it does entitle the SIGM to all other benefits that are given to WRD employees, including the assistant general managers, except as provided herein in Section 3.2. It is unknown what other benefits are provided, as the proposed agreement does not explicitly enumerate these other benefits. The SIGM will also be a part of CalPERS, with the future retirement benefit enhanced by the jump in base salary. Furthermore, the overlapping of the GM and the SIGM for 3 months will result in a base salary cost of $228,450, not including the salaries of other administrative officers in the GM's office. I'm sorry, the time is up. There's another paragraph that will be put into the record.
Yes, thank you.
Gina, you won't need to start the clock on this one. This is very brief. This is an email received by a citizen. Please allow General Manager Rob Whitaker to finish out his contract for the rest of 2021. Let's spend 2021 performing a national search for a qualified water agency manager. We do not need to hurry to hire Albert Robles. We do not need to spend so much money in salary, pension obligations, and to buy out Whitaker's remaining contract. There is no rush. Grace Pang, PhD, Redondo Beach. 2 more. And this one is from the Central Basin Water Association. And they had sent a revised letter after the initial one.
Wait a minute. This is their second letter?
No, it replaces their first letter.
Oh, I got you.
Dear President DeWitt, as a representative of 18 cities, 5 public water districts, 8 public utilities, and 6 mutual water companies in the Central Basin, the Central Basin Water Association respectfully expresses its concerns with agenda item number 7 to be considered by the Deputy Board of Directors at its December 17th board meeting. Specifically, we have the following concerns. 1, the appointment of a special interim general manager to concurrently serve with an existing general manager creates confusion in agency responsibilities and contacts for necessary information and interaction. 2, additionally, while we understand the benefit of a transition period due to the current general manager's proposed retirement in March 2021, we believe that WRD has internal staff members who are capable of assisting with this transition without creating managerial confusion. 3, tasking a proposed special interim general manager to conduct a full review and audit of WRD's programs is a thoughtful and strategic concept, though in this case, unlikely to provide the necessary impartial and unbiased evaluation due to his lengthy experience with WRD, albeit in a different capacity. 4, concern among our members has also been raised relative to the declared cost savings by taking this action. We encourage the board to carefully consider all costs associated with this action and report actual financial obligations, including compensation, benefits, and any other financial implications with this recommended appointment. 5, finally, the proposed contract agreement does not explicitly prohibit the board from extending the 6-month term of the proposed employment agreement. There is also nothing in the agreement that outlines specific performance expectations or benchmarks for the special interim general manager to achieve. These omissions are concerning because the board can vote to extend the agreement past the original 6-month term for any reason, which would essentially nullify the salary savings argument. We respectfully request that the board of directors carefully consider the actions being considered. Are they in the best interest of all the parties involved, and what are the long-term implications of these actions? Thank you for your consideration of our concerns. Mark Grajeda, President, Central Basin Water Association. And the last one that I know about is from the City of Whittier. Dear Board President Robles DeWitt and honorable board members, we write again with concern about the recent and sudden irregularities at the Water Replenishment District, WRD. It is crucial that the agency hire and retain highly qualified individuals to ensure prudent water resource and fiscal management of the agency that safeguards water resources for more than 4 million people. We are disappointed with the continued disregard for the concerns your customers, the pumpers, have raised. As the only pumper that opposed WRD's most recent of many consecutive rate increases, Whittier appreciates the board taking a serious look at their finances. Agenda item number 7 refers to WRD appointing a special interim general manager, SIGM, with specific tasks, including but not limited to a full review and audit of WRD's programs along with potential cost savings in salaries and benefits. We fully support WRD's commitment to right-sizing the organization, eliminating excess programs, and adjusting salaries to industry standards. It is necessary to have this review and audit be performed by an independent individual without bias to the organization. Hiring a former board member to perform these tasks, specifically one whose previous votes helped to adopt the disproportionately high salaries in excess programs, will not produce unbiased results. Additionally, hiring an SIGM to perform this task for a monthly rate of over $45,000 while still employing a GM with a monthly rate of $30,000 does not promote WRD's commitment to eliminating excess. Moreover, this action puts the agency at risk for accusations of pension spiking for CalPERS benefits for the proposed SIGM. WRD's recent and sudden irregular actions are concerning to us. These actions stand to jeopardize organizational morale, the agency's capacity to lead, and the trust you have built. We are encouraged by the board's willingness to eliminate excess and urge you to perform this evaluation in an independent manner. This independent audit should lead to substantial cost savings throughout this organization. Once this organization is right-sized, Whittier looks forward to supporting WRD's future balanced budgets without unnecessary rate increases to cover the cost of disproportionately high salaries. Sincerely, Joe Vinatieri, Mayor. That concludes the written comments that I received.
Well, thank you, Mr. Johnson. You did a yeoman's job. Now you can get a little bit of a break. That concludes our public comments. That's agenda item number 4. We will move on to agenda item number 5, additional items to the agenda. Are there any additional items? Staff has none. Board? Okay, that concludes item number 5. Now we'll go on to agenda item number 6, and we have 6A, D, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, and J on the consent calendar. What is the wishes of the board?
Madam Chair, Murray, move approval.
We have a motion. Is there a second? I will second the motion. And that is to approve agenda consent calendar 6A through 6J. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor?
Allen, aye.
Murray, aye.
Calderon.
Okay, and DeWitt, aye. That's 5. Yeah, 5 affirmative votes. Motion passes, and the consent calendar is approved. Now we're going to go on to item 7. I know everybody's anxious to get to it, but it's now an hour and a half. I'm going to ask that we take a 5-minute break. Because the coffee, so we're going to take a 5-minute break.
The host has placed this conference on hold.
Okay, we're back in session, and we are on agenda item number 7. As I said at the beginning of our meeting, those of you who want to speak on item 7 can do it now rather than at the beginning of the meeting with public comment. If you've already had your letter read, then please respect the fact that other people want to be heard. So with that, if you want to be heard on number 7, please press star 5, and we'll recognize you at this time. Okay, I see your hand. We'll be fine. Is there anyone else? There you go. There we go. Now everybody's awake. Mr. Kennedy, I think you want to open.
Do you want to go, you want to take the callers first? Or
Well, how else can they talk?
I mean, I don't know if you want to do in-house first or callers first.
Well, in-house meaning the union,
The
right?
general memorizer, up to you.
We can do that. We can do that. Okay. All right, we'll begin with the, please come to the microphone.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Board members, management. Today I was planning to speak to the board about the many issues that the union has with item 7. But I think you've heard enough. But yesterday, I want to change gears a little bit and talk about what I saw yesterday. And it was a letter from the Right Reverends K.W. Tullos and Jonathan Mosley of the Baptist Conference of the Los Angeles and Southern California and National Action Network, and Pastor William D. Smart of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference of Southern California. This letter said many things that I personally agree with about the need for management diversity here at WRD. The ministers correctly pointed out that there are no African American managers here, and that WRD should reflect the diversity of the community it serves. I wholeheartedly agree with this. I especially agree with the ministers when they said, and I quote, "If an employment standard was good enough for one, barring some exceptional circumstance, it should remain sufficient and adequate for any and all prospective Black and brown employees too." This is all too true, which got me to thinking. The job of special interim general manager is being given to Albert Robles today. Does this action itself create a serious barrier to the goal of upper-level African American management at WRD? Gifting a job to somebody means closing the door of opportunity to somebody else. That somebody else was never given a chance, never considered, and never given the dignity that they deserve. It's a zero-sum game. Our community has many accomplished, competent African Americans who I'm sure would jump at the chance at such an opportunity. WRD is a public government agency. All should be welcome here, and all should be welcome to find work here. Unfortunately, it seems that the board's actions have barred any African Americans from becoming a special interim general manager. Why has the board not made any effort to reach out to the African American community over this past month to seek qualified recruits for the general manager, assistant general manager, or the special interim general manager? I don't know, but these upper-level management positions were all offered to one candidate, Albert Robles. The board did not search for qualified candidates. It made no effort to reach out to the African American community. No resumes, no interviews, no competition, because why? And I'll take my answer from Director Murray.
We're on the agenda item. Hold on. Are we responding now?
We can respond.
Okay. I don't know, Director Murray, did you want to respond to that? No.
No?
You didn't hear it? Okay, thank you, Mr.
All right.
Now we'll go to the phone calls.
Can I respond, Madam President?
If you wish.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ossie. I appreciate your comments, and I too agree with them, and that we should offer this position to all candidates, and in particular recruit African American candidates who may be qualified. Thank you.
Did you wish to comment?
Yes, the problem with this selection process is we've forgotten to do the most qualified candidate, which is what the board's position was on November 5th at our regularly scheduled board meeting. And personally, I sat on a board, a review board that interviewed for the assistant general manager in charge of operations, along with our president, Madam DeWitt, that selected Rob Bestie. On that board was, and we were down to the final three, was an exceptionally qualified African American man. He won't have the opportunity to apply for this because we're just going to unilaterally hire Albert Robles. And Miss DeWitt and I, Madam DeWitt and I, both thought Mr. Bestie was the best, but we both had a very high regard for the gentleman I just described. Thank you.
Okay, I can respond, but they say less is better. So we'll go on to the first,
Okay,
yeah.
the first caller has a phone number that ends in 5779.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, this is Patricia McPherson, Grassroots Coalition calling in. I have been involved in meetings with various agencies for the past 20 years. These meetings with the WRD are my first. And I've been astonished at the actions taken. And in reading the information behind today's meeting that has been supplied, it would appear that there's a whole new set of and range of options that are suddenly being produced for the public and for the other members to consider. I've frankly never seen anything like this in my life, to have such back and forth going on, and the process seems to be kind of a whack-a-mole process. And that provides, certainly for us as the public, a great deal of concern that there isn't transparency, and even the letters from Ms. DeWitt discuss her personal feelings that she cannot share, causes even greater concern as to how is this all taking place. None of this seems to be a normal process, and I think that all needs to be addressed, and perhaps going back to scratch would be a better process here, rather than suddenly voting on any of this. And in reading what various elected have said on this, it would seem to reinforce certainly Grassroots' opinions on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McPherson. Let me just, I think you're referring to something I said about a personnel, an individual employee, and I certainly can't share my thoughts on that because it is an employee. With respect to transparency, you have to understand this whole process started back in September when we got notice that our general manager was going to retire. And you talk about backroom deals, and it was common stated that who was going to be the next GM and who was going to be the next AGM. And I'm the one that wanted to put this out open. And because I cannot talk to my board members, a majority, I could only talk to one, I put that item in the December 3rd meeting so we can discuss what we're going to do in an open, transparent fashion. And that's why you have all these documents, because I'm putting it out there in the interest of transparency. Now, between October and now, not one of the board members is willing to put up an alternative. I reached out to one of my board members, only one, and said, do you want to talk? And all I got was a response, well, I'll listen. Well, okay. So there's nothing out there being put out by my colleagues. So I put another item up there, and that's what you see today, all in the interest of open government and transparency. So I appreciate your comments, Ms. McPherson, but understand, I want to go open and transparent. I don't like backroom deals. So let's move on to the next.
Okay, the next caller, the phone number ends in 9329.
Did you speak already?
Hi, this is Tim Kennedy. Again, I am representing myself. And just to pick up where Board President Vera DeWitt left up, asking her board members to put out recommendations, that right there says everything. That's not a recruitment process. I think it's pretty clear now from December 3rd to today that we have a lot of people out there who have presented a lot of logical arguments of why this should not go forward. Is it going to matter? No, because even though the world is watching, the world is against this, except for 3 Water Replenishment District board members. This seems to be going forward no matter what. It doesn't matter what the facts are. That's because I think it's apparently clear that Sarah DeWitt and Albert Robles have nothing left to lose. So they're going to continue no matter what. And I think it's upon us to explain what they have to lose. And there's a couple of things I'd like to put out there. First, I think the Water Replenishment Board should put out a vote of no confidence in Vera DeWitt as continuing as board president. She has obviously not been able to conduct the correct processes for the board to be able to make its right decisions. I would also like for Director Sergio Calderon and Willard Murray to take 5 to 10 minutes at some point before the vote to clearly articulate why they think this is a transparent, correct process to hire the most qualified person. We have not heard from them. And of course, the most glaring omission of them all is no one has seen or heard from Albert Robles. That's ridiculous. In what hiring process do you not directly interview the candidate? Now, apparently they have, because Albert Robles has, in a spoken wheel fashion, reached out to every single board member. So I would like every single board member to explain what conversation they had with Albert Robles about them hiring them. Now, this actual item was written by Albert Robles and submitted with Vera DeWitt's consent without any council review or any staff review. That's why you're not getting any reports on the true cost or any other facts behind why this contract is valid or... I'm sorry, what did you say?
30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I would also like for this board to consider making a motion to reconsider the December 3rd. Those people who voted for it, specifically I'm thinking about Director Willard Murray, who may or may not have understood exactly what they were voting for, have that option to vote to reconsider. And I would also say that the most important fact out of this whole process is that Albert Robles should never be hired for anything from the Water Replenishment District, and that is very clear that he...
Okay, sorry.
Mr. Kennedy, we gave you 2 opportunities to speak before the board, but your time is up, and in the interest of those behind you, we're going to move on. 4543, are you ready to go?
Okay, let's see. As this caller ends in 4543, you have now been unmuted.
Hello? My name is Linda. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Linda Bassett here, elected LACDP and state delegate, and a member of the Progressive Democratic Club in Carson. And as I know, Vera DeWitt was appointed by Albert Robles to this seat. She should shouldn't be involved in this at all. And I'm not surprised at what's going on with the characters involved. I'm so thankful that so many elected officials from around the area have called in to express their dismay at what's going on. This is a sham of democracy. This is absolutely unconscionable that if they should go forward with this. Just remember, Mr. DeWitt, you live in the community, as does Mr. Robles. I hope you don't go through with this. I hope you see that people are watching. We understand what's going on. We don't like it. We trust people to go into office to act in the best interests of the whole community. Our democracy will fall apart if this doesn't happen more often. And the blatant way that it's going on here in this area is getting to be more and more well-known. And I hope that you mend your ways and the board doesn't go through with this. If you do, I for one, will be at your doorstep. I will try to get other people to come along to get you out of that seat forthwith. This is unconscionable, and the world is watching. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Vasquez. And again, we need to deal with facts and truth. I was not appointed, no, I'm speaking now. I was not appointed by Albert Robles to this board. He was no longer a member of this board.
You've got an echo.
Yeah, whose echo is that? That's hers?
It's you.
I'm not sure where that's coming from.
No, he hasn't.
What happened?
I'm not sure. Maybe it's gone now.
There's some background noise. Somebody needs to mute. Okay, just to clear the record, I was not appointed to the Water Replenishment District Board of Directors by Albert Robles. He was gone. I was appointed by the 4 members that I serve with today. And the process was there were 19 of us applicants, including several from Carson, that applied for the position. It was narrowed down. We went through several evaluations. So let's deal with the truth. And I'm concerned if you want to come to my doorstep and stuff, it kind of sounds like what's happening with the top people and the people, you know, we're getting to the point of not being able to discuss in an amicable way. Instead, we threaten activities that are, you know, really not pleasant. So just so you know, the true facts, and I hope that you will do more homework before you address the board. No, I shouldn't say that. I apologize, Ms. Vasquez. I'm just wanting to clarify what happened. I was not appointed by Albert Robles. All right, the next speaker is 1598.
Yeah, let me just check on the sound echo.
Yeah, we have a sound problem.
It's new. So I don't know if there's any phones on that are causing that echo in here recently. Well,
We can try to proceed. The next caller ends in the phone number 1598. You have been unmuted.
Hello, President DeWitt and Honorable Board. This is Frank Heldman. I serve on the Budget Advisory Committee. And I just want to take a moment and recognize that there's been plenty of criticism handed out on this meeting today, but I'd also like to take this opportunity to pay some compliments to Rob Whitaker and staff. I think they've done a good job in moving forward some really tremendous projects that have helped our water supply in the area. And I have full confidence if he's offering to stay on board to help through this transition period, that he's more than capable. And I believe that he has access to very well qualified staff to do the same. So I'd urge you to take a look at the resources that you have available and not add to an already complicated year, especially not only in the water agencies in the surrounding area, but for everybody involved. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heldman. Appreciate your comments. Next speaker.
The next caller has the phone number that ends in 5939.
Now, are we repeating ourselves here? This person spoke already.
Hello?
Hello?
I didn't speak on item number 7, correct?
That's correct.
All right. They tell me that's true. So go ahead, Mr. Sadler.
Okay. So yes, Alfred Sattler, and it is, I'm sure that the Water Replenishment District frequently is considered as a rather obscure agency, so it might well be an uncomfortable position to have this much public attention paid to you. Perhaps that there will be continuing public attention paid to the agency, which is to the good. People should be aware of what's happening to water resources, to groundwater. I like most others who have spoken, provided input. I also have great concern about the manner in which this proposed hiring of Albert Robles to be Special Interest General Manager has been conducted. And as others have said, I really am concerned that this would damage the reputation that the Water Replenishment District has managed to build up over the years for what seems to be competent administration. of groundwater in the area. Perhaps with greater attention, people will be more likely yet to follow this, to be aware of contaminants in the water, as Martha was saying, and perhaps even to be that much more judgmental, or at least taking more of a look at various activities of the Water Replenishment District. And certainly articles in the Daily Breeze in particular have cast a somewhat skeptical eye upon some
Sir,
of
you
the
have 30 seconds to finish.
What's that?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Well, I think I've just about wrapped up. Again, I would hope that if this goes through, that if Albert Robles is hired, anointed, appointed, whatever, to be general manager, that it will not damage the administration of the...
Your time is up.
Sorry. No. Okay. The next caller is, their phone number ends in 9771. You've been unmuted.
Hello, this is Jason of City of Lakewood. I don't want to repeat our letter. Actually, I just want to mention, regarding the fake news. Basically, by reading the document, clearly I think it's a little bit of confusion. That's why probably caused some confusion over there on the, terms. That probably reflects this rush. I mean, I look back and say, hey, why we rush? You have a qualified, management team. You still have a general manager, assistant general manager. There's no rush for these issues. We are kind of really surprised in the last meeting. So many concerns, but you still move forward to, for the items. Clearly, we hope you can, really go through the professional process. Like, President said, you have 19 candidates even for that elected positions. Clearly, we need to do a professional recruitment to fill this important position. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Next.
Okay, the next caller has the phone number that ends in 2676.
You're on.
Hi, my name's Jeffrey Froelich. I'm with AFSCME Local 1902. I'm the business rep. Again, just wanted to reiterate some of our concern with this whole thing. AFSCME is definitely dedicated to ensuring that there's diversity in the workplace. We work very closely with a lot of agencies that we represent, both locally here in California and then at the international level, to ensure that, especially in the public sector, that employees are reflective of the communities that they represent, which is important and critical. That said, this definitely should have had a more thorough review. We don't feel that there was necessarily a need for an interim GM at this point. And obviously, if Mr. Robles is in fact qualified for the job, that's great and should be vetted through the appropriate process when the time comes appropriate, when Mr. Whitaker does actually officially resign. That's our position. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Froelich. Next
caller, the telephone number ends in 1801.
Yes, President DeWitt and all board members. Again, I hope you folks make the right decision in filling your general manager needs. Talking of Mr. Robles or anybody else that would be qualified, I mean, there's a building, I believe, named after him. He's been on that board 25 years. Been a council member, mayor. I believe he's also an attorney. I mean, he may be overqualified for this position. I'm not sure, but there's a lot of qualifications there, and I'm not hearing anybody talk of that. No, we're talking about race and diversification and going out to the Black community, and Latin community, Hispanic community. I mean, is that done anytime somebody in management is to be hired there at WRD? I mean, we count on you folks there to make the best decisions, to keep that organization going as strong as it is. And I'm sure Mr. Robles, serving on that board for 25 years, was a part of that. I mean, as far as I know, he was. And I'm not speaking for or against him, but there's just a lot of back and forth and a lot of talk that just doesn't seem to make sense in certain areas. But I do wish you all the best, and hopefully you come up with a good general manager, to replace Mr. Whitaker, and things just keep moving forward. Again, thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Perez, and your comments about Mr. Robles may be overqualified. You can rest assured that the recruitment firm that was hired a month or two ago will be given direction to go into diverse communities when we do our recruitment process, and it will be open. I envision something like what Metropolitan Water District did. They had open town hall and asking the stakeholders, what do you want in a general manager? What are you looking for? So certainly the directive to this firm, which was selected with the help of our GM Whitaker, that we turn to the minority community also as applicants. So thank you, Mr. Perez. Next speaker.
Next speaker has a phone number that ends in 7219.
Are you there?
Speaker, are you there? Is your phone muted?
The identifier is CDMWD, so that's what, Central Basin?
It's Archie Calm.
Archie Calm? Director.
Is your phone muted, sir?
Okay, last call for this caller ending in 7219. All right, let's move on to the next.
Okay. And currently the last call has the phone number that ends in 0511.
Hello, Madam President, board members. First question is to the board counsel. There was a previous speaker that mentioned there's a conflict between board member Calderon and Albert Robles. Is there going to be direction before you take any vote that gets vetted? And then secondly, there was a statement that you are keeping the consultant firm to do the recruitment. So you have a good standing general manager until the end of 2021. So what is there a need at all for Albert Robles? That ends my comments.
I got distracted. I'm sorry. Would you repeat the last? I'm sorry. I got distracted for just a moment there.
Second part of the question was that you made a statement that you're keeping the consultant firm that's going to be hiring, doing the recruitment for the hiring of a new general manager. And so I don't think there's a need to hire Albert Robles if you have a good standing general manager on contract till the end of 2021.
No, okay. Well, those are issues that need to be dealt with. Thank you very much, caller. I have somebody that's texting me. I don't know who it is.
There's nobody currently raising their hand. If a speaker wants to speak on item 7, please press *5 on your phone.
Yeah, press star. If you're on this call, then hit *5.
No, we got some.
Well, that opened up a lot of folks.
Okay.
Hold on, before you bring the vote. This is, I'm on. How can I speak? Let me look at this. Oh, there you go. Okay. That solved the problem with the *5. That's one of the callers.
The *5. Reminder for *5. Let's speak on item 7. So the first one to be unmuted will be a caller whose number ends in 5548.
Congressman Lou.
You've been unmuted.
Oh, Congressman. Are you there?
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Yes, this is Joey Apodaca. I'm a senior field representative for Congressman Lou.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
3 minutes.
Yes, I would just like to quickly read a letter from the Congressman to the WRD Board of Directors. He just wrote it today. Congressman said...
Hold on, Mr. Apodaca, just a moment.
No, we did not.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. So this is a letter from the Congressman to the board. I am troubled by the efforts of the board members of the Water Replenishment District of Southern California to quickly remove a long-standing general manager and replace them with an interim special general manager without a thorough public search and vetting of a replacement candidate. I joined many of my colleagues in the Los Angeles congressional delegation in writing earlier to urge you to follow long-standing tradition and conduct a thorough and public search to fill the general manager position. The position of general manager is a critical position for the WRD, which has employed a civil engineer with expertise in water systems and resources for decades, and it is arbitrary and capricious to replace this position without thorough research and input from your constituents. As elected officials, you have an obligation to be thorough and forthright in selecting the most qualified individual to fill a position that is critical in protecting and maintaining our water supply. Water is one of the most precious resources in Southern California, and many of the communities you serve deal with limited resources and environmental justice issues related to water contamination. These issues could have been prevented had there been better oversight and governance of our water supply. If you continue to ignore these voices, you are doing a disservice to the communities you serve, and greater oversight and review of the actions of the Water Replenishment District of Southern California should be considered. Many of these cities, your constituents, and a significant number of local, state, and federal elected officials have called upon the WRD Board of Directors to do the right thing and conduct a full and thorough public search for a new general manager. The health of our water supply, our communities, and your integrity is on the line. I look forward to your response to this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Apodaca.
Congressman Ted W. Thanks. I emailed the letter to the general inbox. If there's a better one, please let me know.
Should that letter be included in our record?
Yeah, their emails should go to the address board@wrd.org. BOARD@wrd.org. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next speaker.
Next speaker has the phone number that ends in 1202.
You're on. Oh my.
There was an echo on that caller. There's a director. That person's on twice, so let me eliminate one and see if we could go on to it again now. So here we go, that same phone number, 1202.
Are you there? 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 Are you there?
Yeah, that speaker has an echo on their microphone. Maybe it's using a computer, a speaker, and a telephone. That would be the issues.
You may be using two different, your phone and a computer, because we're getting an echo.
So we can move to the other caller if you'd like.
Can you work on that, caller number 1202, and we're going to move on to caller 6469.
Who's that person disconnected? Okay, so here we go. Here's the phone number ends in 6469.
Hi, my name is Robert Fellner. I am an expert on public pension systems and the executive director of Transparent California. One item I wanted to bring to the board's attention is the contract as written is factually inaccurate. So it, in multiple places, references that the compensation shall not be more than 50% of previous GM, which is 550, so 50% of that would be 275, which is the salary. But the contract also includes membership in CalPERS, which costs tens of thousands of dollars. But that's not, the actual cost of that is not reflected. So we know for a fact the compensation is higher than the rate that is promised in this contract. So I would say that I don't know how you can vote on something knowing that it's inaccurate. I did a lot of research drawing on CalPERS documents provided to me by the agency, and it appears that if Mr. Robles stays with this position for 12 months, he'll be able to spike his pension at a cost to the district of $2.5 million upon retirement. I would ask, if there is not an intention to spike his pension, why is there an insistence on having him in CalPERS for only such a short period of time? And I would also ask that there be an accurate contract before a vote. And, I can understand people not agreeing with my estimate. Why not go to the source and ask CalPERS to just provide you with the exact numbers of what it will cost to have him in CalPERS? Because right now that information is not in there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fellner. We've got...
Okay, the last speaker.
Mr. Fellner.
Oops, I'm sorry. Okay, I can put him back if you're asking a question.
Yes. Mr. Fellner.
Yes.
This is John Allen. I'm a director here. So is this going to cost WRD more money in the next 6 months and more money in the future when Mr. Robles retires? If so, can you give me the exact amounts?
Sure. So, yes, it will cost WRD more money in both scenarios. So, as the district knows, you guys, for every WRD employees in CalPERS, you have to pay CalPERS an additional amount of money. And there's contributions referenced in the contract saying we're going to have to pay CalPERS as part of this, but the dollar amount isn't there. By my estimate, by the documents provided to me by CalPERS, it looks like the WRD rate for CalPERS employees is about 30% of salary. So hypothetically, if Robles stays on for the full year at $275,000 salary, that means WRD is paying an additional $82,000 to CalPERS for that year. But the real cost comes upon his retirement, because by having this salary count towards his pension is going to explode almost. It goes from if he didn't get this gig, he would get a pension around $80,000. If he does, and it's pensionable, his pension will go from $80,000 to $270,000. So what will happen is once he retires, a year will pass, and CalPERS will send you their valuation like they do every year, and they say, hey, it looks like your unfunded liability went up about $2 million because we expected the payment to be much lower than it actually is. So the short answer to your question is the annual ongoing costs for any employee you have in CalPERS is about 30% of their salary. So in this case, it would be about $80,000 a year. But this employee's unique circumstances where he has that 25 years of past service, and thus this final salary will spike all of that, means his pension will be so much higher that when he retires, not the day he retires, but the next year when CalPERS gives you the new numbers, the district's going to be on the hook for an additional, to my best estimate, $2.5 million. So that means you're going to have to raise rates on all your current employees at that time.
Thank you, Mr. Fellner. Thank you for your comments, and I too... Oh.
And I do thank you.
Thank you.
Are you through?
Yes.
Mr. Fellner, and you obviously are very familiar with CalPERS, but didn't CalPERS years ago change their procedures that each pension is done separately? It's not a combined, you're talking 25 years, we're talking so many years. And I just recently read a statement that CalPERS would not allow this spiking. I think we had somebody in Carson that tried to do this. So it's nice to send it out there, but there's a little more looking into this. That wasn't our intent to make him rich, okay?
I did speak with CalPERS earlier this week, and they confirmed that the benefits are that the final average salary does apply to all the past. I actually asked them twice because I thought, I agreed with what you originally said, that they should be treated separately. And CalPERS put in writing yesterday, and I can share it with you guys, that no, the final average salary would apply to all of his past years of work. And then to your point where they do try and prevent spiking like this, my question would be, well, okay, if this isn't going to, if we're not trying to spike his pension, why is he in CalPERS for the 6 months? Why are you guys going to incur the $40,000 to $80,000 in contributions if he's not getting anything from it? It doesn't make any sense. So if that is the case, then he would be better off with you withdrawing the membership and just saying, we'll just pay you $50,000 into a 401k or something like that. So it makes less sense that way.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your comments.
Mr. Fellner, can you forward to the Water Replenishment District the email you got in writing? At least I presume it was an email in writing.
Yeah. What's the best email to send that to?
The right email address would be board@wrd.org. BOARD@wrd.org. That does not go to our board members. It just goes to our general mailbox that we use to file submittals to the board, and then we can distribute that as necessary.
And then I would ask that email from PERS be included in our record today.
Yes, and I'm curious, did you do this, Mr. Felmer, with our current GM, Mr. Whitaker, and calculate his pension? That might be interesting.
No. Well, his pension is going, I mean, we can do that. The difference is, so with an employee like the current GM, CalPERS knew his pension would be this high. The reason why this $1 million, the reason why the Robles case is different and why it will saddle the district with millions of dollars in costs is those 25 years, his salary was $30,000 as a director. So when you're making your contributions into CalPERS each year, they're basing his future pension on that salary. Whereas the GM, the existing one, his salary has always been, whatever it is, $300,000, for the past several years. So those contributions that are coming in each year are much bigger to help fund that much bigger pension that everyone expects.
Yeah.
So it's the surprise that's the issue here.
Well, okay, we want to compare apples to apples. But thank you, Mr. Fellner. We have one more speaker.
Yes, the speaker has his hand raised that ends in the telephone number 5013.
You're up.
Greetings and good afternoon. My name is Leticia Vasquez-Wilson, and I'm a director at the Central Basin Municipal Water District, which is one of your neighboring agencies. Greetings to everyone. And I'm calling in today because, quite frankly, I'm taken aback and also very troubled that this group of purveyors, consisting of the same players who actually moved to dissolve an elected board over at the Central Basin Municipal Water District actually earlier this year through Senate Bill 625, have come together again to circumvent the will of the voters in allowing its public members to make decisions. In fact, it is the right of the elected members of the Water Replenishment District to make a decision to hire their own general manager. And I believe that the purveyors actually have a responsibility to bring together all of the players that they have brought together today and during the last meeting to actually clean up their act and deliver clean water to their communities. These cities include the city of Whittier, Signal Hill. Mr. Alshire is there. John O'Scooey from the city of Downey. Mr. Mark Reheda, who is the general manager at the Pico Water District. The city of Pico Rivera, who all of its wells are contaminated with PFAS and is delivering currently contaminated water to its citizens. The cities of Lakewood is doing the same thing, the city of Paramount and the city of Santa Fe Springs, to name a few. And so I would certainly encourage them to come together and clean up their act, stop delivering contaminated water to your communities, and let's focus on that particular issue rather than waste our time on anything else. So interestingly, these same individuals jump in their car at 5 o'clock and drive back to their homes in Orange County, so they don't have to turn on their faucet in the morning and deal with the contaminated and toxic water that they're delivering to their communities. So I ask that you focus on that, and I wish the members of the Board of Directors luck in their goal of filling that position of General Manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Director Vasquez, and for the interest of truth and transparency. I was accused, I believe it was by our union president, of being in cohorts with you over all this. Have you and I, you ran against me. Have you and I spoken since, 6 months from now? Or are you and I?
No, haven't. No,
I didn't think so.
not at all. Not at all.
I just wanted to get out there. I thought it was so ironic.
No, we haven't had any conversations, and I've been really just trying to be more of an observer, but I just can't sit still and allow the purveyors to continue to bully our elected officials. And it's got to stop. Our elected officials are more than qualified to make the decision that they need to make on behalf of our constituents. Yeah, and you know, the other observation that I made is I'm really concerned that your former or your general manager, Mr. Whitaker, who has really turned his eye to all of the contamination that these purveyors choose to continue to deliver to the homes of our communities through their faucets. So anyhow, that's another issue. Thank you for giving me the time, and I will definitely continue to be engaged on behalf of our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, that concludes. Wait, is there another one? Oh my goodness. Has this person spoken already?
No, I don't recognize the number, but has spoken before, but the number that will unmute is 6520. Okay, speaker.
Hello, my name is William Coons. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I am opposed to the contract to appoint Albert Robles as interim general manager, and I disagree with the method by which the WRD is pursuing this recruitment process. I feel that the hiring process is, first of all, not in accordance with the law. I also fear that there will not be an open-based recruitment for the future. And I also feel it's a waste of WRD resources. The questions also about, with both Mr. Whitaker and Mr. Robles on the job, and I assume that would be April through September of next year, 2021, the transitional 6-month period for the both of them is, to me, very ambiguous. You know, they're conducting recruitment, competing top-down review of WRD, lots of ambiguity there in their opinions and what was going on. And as my understanding, Mr. Robles would be the general manager. So what is Mr. Whitaker's title and role? Robles is interim general manager. Is Mr. Whitaker retiring general manager? Or what is his title and role, I should say? So Chairman DeWitt was asking about an alternative solution. Well, let me give you my opinion. The alternative solution would be, let's keep Mr. Whitaker on. Let's go through the recruitment process with him still on the job. Do the recruitment, hire the guy that comes out, and that could even be Mr. Robles. He can apply through the recruitment firm and be one of the candidates. And then whoever comes out and gets hired, then Mr. Whitaker could stay on the job in enough time to break in the new man, whatever that takes, to become a competent and knowledgeable about the WRD, and also if indeed they still want to do the analysis and changes, that could be passed on. So things could be passed on from Whitaker to the new one, and then that is the best process and the most economic and feasible process for hiring a new general manager. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coons. Okay. Did somebody else?
No.
Okay. That concludes the individuals who wish to speak on item number 7. So let's continue on with are we okay? Let's continue on to item number 7 and the staff report.
Madam Chair, this is your staff report.
Oh, well, I can read the whole, well, okay. I was going to say, want me to save your voice, Mr. Johnson?
I will do whatever you wish.
Okay. This is my staff report, and again, it's in the interest of transparency, openness, put it out there so we can discuss. Here's the summary. On September 16th, WRD's General Manager Rob Whitaker gave the Board of Directors written notice that he was retiring in March 2021. Thereafter, he led the board's program to recruit a new general manager, with the Roberts Consulting firm approved by the board on November 5th. On December 3rd, with a legally noticed agenda item number 7, to provide direction on hiring a new WRD general manager, the board, by a 3-2 vote, approved appointing former board director Albert Robles with the intent he serve as interim and that an employment contract be negotiated. The contract with Mr. Robles to provide that he serves as special interim general manager of WRD during a transition period is conducting recruitment of the general manager and performing other duties as assigned is attached for the board of directors' consideration. In the background, Mr. Whitaker's September 16th notice of resignation to be effective March 2021 was unexpected, as his contract was to run for another year. The resignation was clear and stated his intent to provide sufficient time to develop and implement a succession plan with you and to ensure as seamless a transition as possible. Thereafter, necessary steps were taken to proceed with the recruitment of a new general manager. Recruiting firms were solicited and vetted by Mr. Whitaker, and he wrote a staff report and recommended on November 5th the hiring of the firm of Roberts Consulting. This allowed for a 6-month seamless transition plan to avoid impacting the momentum of projects and programs. Accordingly, during Mr. Whitaker's proposed transition period, it was contemplated Mr. Whitaker would be around and would work with the new general manager. At the board's meeting on December 3rd, the agenda, number 7, listing allowed for a broad discussion of direction on the hiring of a new general manager and contingent actions. Various possible actions were listed as topics, including the retirement of the assistant general manager, promoting the assistant general manager to the position of general manager, hiring former director Albert Robles, not recruiting for a vacant assistant general manager position, and directing staff to develop a contract with Mr. Robles. I hope you're all following this. Just before the meeting, in writing, Mr. Whitaker precipitously attempted to withdraw his retirement notice and continue as the general manager, quote, indefinitely. After discussion, the board acted as described in the agenda item and by the board majority, a 3-2 vote, determined to hire Mr. Robles as the general manager, which they did have the authority to do, as the general manager stated on the record. Implicit in this action was the refusal to accept Mr. Whitaker's withdrawal of his retirement. It was also implicit that a contract with Mr. Robles defining the terms of employment was necessary and needed to be negotiated and drafted. Given the board action, the president asked General Counsel to commence a dialogue with Mr. Robles to develop a contract. General Counsel and Mr. Robles conferred over the weekend and the attached contract was submitted, that memorializing their understanding. This is so long, I'm out of respect to, there are 4 exhibits. Exhibit A is the special interim general manager contract. There is Exhibit B, the open letter of explanation. That was me, the open letter. Number C is the 2 letters, one September 16th and another right before the last board meeting of Mr. Whitaker changing his mind. And then number D is Whitaker contract and amendments. So everybody can see that everything's open and transparent. It's out there what's going on. And now, where we're at in this agenda, and I know the board members have a lot to discuss, and I would like to respond to some of the public comments, but why don't we put a motion, and if we get a second, we will open it up for discussion. So I'm going to put a motion that we approve the contract appointment of Albert Robles, the special interim general manager, during a transition period to conduct an open recruitment of a general manager and undertake a review of the organization and perform under general manager. What's that? I don't hear. What? It's the echo. It's your voice.
Director Murray's phone has an echo, so I'm muting him, unmuting him as necessary. So I've just unmuted him in case you're calling for that.
Oh, okay. Well, I put a motion out there. Was there a second? Well, then we don't need to discuss anything further.
Yeah, we have seconds.
Madam President,
Wait, somebody just spoke. Who was the speaker? This is so hard because we can't see anybody. Did somebody out there say something, one of the board members? Okay, Mr. Catherman.
Yeah, Madam President, yeah. I would like to make a little comment and then a motion.
Echo.
Am I echoing too?
No, it's Director Murray's telephone, so I just muted him. As you can see on the screen, I have him on mute until we need him to speak.
So, yeah, this is Catherman speaking. The WRD has built a reputation as a first-class public agency over the past 15 years by hiring and promoting the best and the brightest applicants, regardless of race or gender. Let's step back a moment and assess where we are today about hiring a new general manager to replace our retiring general manager. Originally, a proposal was made by the board president and a couple of her colleagues on November.
I ask you to just wait a minute to clarify, because we're in discussion, and in order to do that, there was a second. I've been told that Director Murray seconded the motion, so we can continue with your discussion. Otherwise, there's no point in doing this. So,
Okay, I did not hear Director Murray saying a second. Is that correct, Mr. Johnson?
I didn't hear it. I have him unmuted now.
did Director Murray second the motion?
What was the motion, Mrs. Murray? What was the motion?
The motion was the staff recommendation. Approve the contract appointment of Albert Robles as special interim general manager during a transition period to conduct an open recruitment of a general manager and undertake a review of the organization and perform other general manager duties. That was the motion. And wait a minute. If it's seconded, then we discuss it. If it's not seconded, then we don't discuss it.
I second the motion, Madam Chair.
That's the question.
Then continue, Director Catherman.
What?
No.
All right.
He was speaking.
All right.
So, as I was saying, let's step back and look at this whole process. Originally, the board president had an item on the agenda that would appoint Rob.Bestie as our general manager with the proviso that he appoint Director Robles to AGM. Last meeting, as you indicated, the board voted to hire Mr. Robles as GM, although it was not agendized properly to take that action. And of course, now we're promoting Mr. Robles. This is the third attempt to get him to be general manager as a special interim general manager. But I submit to my fellow directors that the situation has changed now. As been said before, our general manager, Mr. Whitaker, has in writing rescinded his March retirement and stated that he will remain with the district until the end of 2021. And I would submit to all of us as a reminder that Mr. Whitaker has brilliantly led our organization over the past 16 years to new levels of excellence and has garnered the respect of the public agencies that we work with, elected officials, as well as our pumping community. Let's take advantage of that offer. We now have the time. We don't have to sacrifice transparency or expediency. Let's keep Mr. Whitaker as our general manager and simultaneously reactivate the contract with the Roberts Group to find a new world-class general manager. If, as you said, there is a board motion on the floor, I would like to offer a substitute motion. I move that we continue with our current general manager and we reinitiate the executive search firm for the recruitment process. Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion by Director Coleman and a second by Director Ellis.
Mr. Chairman, this is Murray. We have a motion and a second.
Yes, but now, Director...
Why don't we vote on that?
Pardon? The substitute motion would be what we would vote on.
No, there was a motion and a second.
Correct. I made the motion and you seconded it.
Yes.
And now, but now Mr. Director Catherman offered a substitute motion and it was seconded. So parliamentary rules mean I have to vote on the substitute motion and then go back to the main motion.
I vote no on the substitute motion.
Okay.
For the record, can you repeat the substitute motion, please?
The substitute motion was to continue with the general manager and reinstate the recruitment firm's contract.
That's correct.
On the substitute motion, I vote no.
Okay, well, I guess we'll call for the question.
The question first,
All right, let's call for the question.
unless there's further discussion.
No, I'm going to vote no, too. What about you, Director Calderon?
He's going to vote no, too.
Calderon abstains.
Okay, so it's 2-2.
Supposed to vote no.
Now, wait. Just wait a second. You have not called for an affirmative vote on this motion yet. Can you call for that, please?
Okay, well,
And may I
why
ask
don't
for
we
a
do a
roll
roll
call
call?
vote?
Yeah, that's right. Let's do a roll call vote.
Director Allen?
Aye.
Director Calderon?
Calderon abstains.
What's the vote on?
The substitute motion.
What is the vote on?
The substitute motion
And what is the substitute motion?
to continue with the current GM and reinstate the recruitment firm. It was offered by,
Okay. I urge a no vote on the substitute motion.
may I run this meeting, Mr. Allen?
May you run him.
To
Urge a
clarify,
no vote on the substitute motion.
well, we're recording a vote right now, and the two affirmative votes was Director Catherman, Director Allen. I'm voting no.
I'm voting no.
And then Director,
Murray's voting no.
okay, duly noted, and an extension by Director Calderon. So it does not pass.
Calderon is going to vote no also.
It
Aren't you, Calderon?
you know what, it's,
Director Moran, I'm abstaining on this vote.
okay, so the motion doesn't pass. We revert to the original motion, which was a staff recommendation. Now, what I'd like to do is, I was going to bring up, like you did, Director Catherine.
Well, let's vote on it then. Murray, aye.
Well,
We're calling for some discussion, Director Murray, so we'll let the board members discuss it if they'd like. Did you want to discuss that?
first, I'd like to know what we're voting on. We voted on moving what?
The
Exactly.
staff recommendation approved the contract appointment of Albert Robles as special interim general manager during a transition period to conduct an open recruitment of a general manager and undertake a review of the organization and perform other general manager duties.
Are we voting on the employment agreement that begins on page 415 and that goes through page 423?
I believe so. It's part of it, or do we do it separately?
You would vote on the agreement also because that's what's included in your motion. The purpose of this meeting is to determine whether you want to approve the agreement contained in your staff report.
Okay, well, you brought up a couple of issues on the contract, and I wanted to clarify on the contract.
Okay.
There were two points.
Your motion, let's vote on it. Murray, aye.
Is that an affirmative that the motion includes page 415 through page 423?
Hold on, everybody. I'm going through a mountain of papers here.
Are those pages the proposed employment agreement for a special interim general manager? Mr. Allen?
Yes. Yes.
It's part of the record here.
Okay. May I ask a question then, Madam President, while you're looking?
Yes, please.
Mr. General Counsel, have you reviewed and approved this agreement as to form and legality?
Member Catherman, just by way of background to clarify the issue, I did meet with Mr. Robles last Saturday, and contrary to the staff report, which provides that it memorialized our understanding, there was no understanding reached with Mr. Robles at that meeting. The advice provided at that time was that the board convene in closed session to affirm his appointment given some ambiguities from the last meeting, and that I be given direction at that time to present a contract. Notwithstanding that, we received this contract 10 minutes before the agenda closed. It is the contract that was entirely written by Mr. Robles by his own words to me. And so the answer is I have not, this is not a contract that I participated in or negotiated with Mr. Robles.
You did not construct this contract, but don't tell me you didn't review it. And two comments you told me was that the Sigma, under the compensation and reimbursement, page 5, to clarify that the salary shall be an annualized salary of $275. That's just to clear up so everybody knows that's not, okay? And then prorated in installments. And then page 6, under termination, that it be terminated without cause with a 30-day notice beginning the first day of the employment contract. So those are the two little tweaks.
Right. Now, Madam President, if I can respond to that, because we did have a conversation regarding that, and I think it's important that it be placed in the record. We did talk about this, and my first issue was that it was presented without me looking at it. The second issue was that notwithstanding the title of Sigma, or whatever the term is, SIGM, that this looks like, and it is, a general manager's contract. And I remained firm with my opinion that we have a general manager in place right now, and that approval of this contract essentially will abrogate his existing contract rights and trigger his severance rights.
Okay, and those issues need to be dealt in closed session, not in open session.
This was discussed in open session the last time, and I don't see a reason why it cannot be presented here in open session.
You told me it had to be in closed session. Now quit changing your mind.
No.
Okay, well let's move forward here. I got the floor, and I'll recognize you in just a minute. Don't be so anxious.
Did we get a complete answer from our legal counsel, Madam President?
I thought he was finished. Are you finished?
I believe I asked.
Wait a minute. I need a response. Are you finished?
I'm still wondering what was the follow-up question from Mr. Catherman. I missed it.
My question, I think, is very simple. Have you reviewed and approved the contract that is before us today for special interim general manager as to form and legality? Have you reviewed each and every part of that contract so that you could affirm today at this dais that you approve this contract as to form and legality? Yes or no?
I have reviewed the contract as to form and legality.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, and I'm going to call for the question.
No.
I'm not?
No, you're not, because I still have a question. Are we voting on page 415 through 423, these things that you characterize as a staff report, but appears to be either your report or Mr. Robles' report? I need to know whether when I vote, whether I'm voting on pages 415.
We know you're going to vote no.
Madam, I need to know whether I'm going to vote on pages 415 through 423. Is that what the motion's on?
The motion is on the contract. The
is that an affirmative or a negative?
Affirmative is on the contract. Anything else you want to bring into it, bring it back. I don't care.
Yes, and there is no. You called for a vote. Do you have 2/3 to vote on calling for the question at this point?
I don't know. Do we want to call for the...
Yeah, I believe you called for the question. I'm not calling for the question. I'm calling for discussion.
Move the question.
Well, we have to have a vote on the motion to call for the question, and we need a 2/3 majority. Do we have a 2/3 majority to move?
That would be 4 of you.
That would be 4. I don't think we have that.
You
I
don't.
don't think so.
All you need is 3, a majority. Majority rules.
Director Murray, our legal counsel says you need 4. And we don't have.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Well, I kind of agree with you on some of that sometimes.
Well,
Nice to hear from you, Mr. Murray.
yeah, it takes 4 votes to close discussion under Robert's rules.
Okay.
Period. End of discussion.
All right. So, any more discussion?
Yes, I do want to be recognized.
You are recognized.
Thank you. It seemed to me as little as 4 or 5 weeks ago, what this district was concerned with was putting in clear, clean, drinkable water in the basin. Then, we suddenly changed to finding a job for a guy who had lost his bid to be elected mayor of Carson, instantly becoming a failed politician, one Albert Robles, who wanted to find a job that paid him very, very handsomely so that he could spike his PERS account. Very clear from this contract that we've just discussed. Just found between pages 415 and 423. And we could not require him to do any work because he would be exempt, as it says in 3.7 of this very contract, he would be exempt from fair federal standard labor act. He would be exempt from that, meaning he could come and go. And not only that, if in case we missed it at 3.9, he would set his own hours. How did we get here? Well, first of all, on November 3rd, Mr. Robles lost his bid to become mayor of Carson. On November 5th, our next regularly scheduled board meeting, we decided that we would hire the Roberts Group to help us in our search for a new general manager of Mr. Robles. Then at our next regularly scheduled meeting, November 19th, we met and we had some backup in which we were going to talk to the Roberts Group, the group that we selected. And they were going to tell us how they wanted to proceed, and we were going to tell them how we wanted to proceed. What happened? Our president started to talk and said, I want to make a substitute motion. Suddenly, Mr. Robles was in the picture. Why don't we just promote Mr. Bestie, who the record should reflect is a white man, perfectly fine with that, and we would appoint Mr. Robles as the assistant general manager behind him in charge of operations. Now, Mr. Robles had called me. We'd served together on this board. Called me 2 or 3 days beforehand to tell me that that's what he was going to do. He was a big, thank you. He was a big fan of WRD. He loved it and was going to work hard and knew it and could be a great advocate. Did not describe to having any job as a hydrologist, any job as an engineer, any job as a construction engineer, any job where he'd manage people, any of those things that were in our necessary to perform the employment of chief of operations. Because it wasn't properly agendized, and the our president, seemed to be upset when our general counsel pointed out you can't have that motion to appoint Mr. Bestie as general manager and Mr. Robles as assistant general manager in charge of operations, because that wasn't included anywhere within the agenda item or by the staff. She said, okay, we'll put it over for 2 weeks until December 3rd. On December 3rd, at our president's urging, there was a agenda item 7 again, that said, we'll appoint Mr. Bestie and we'll appoint Mr. Robles as the assistant general manager behind him on condition that Mr. Bestie would be appointed on condition, her words exactly were subject to his appointing Mr. Robles. As was pointed out on December 3rd, there was a quid pro quo. It also smacked of a bribe. I will give you a nice promotion. We'll give you a big salary because we'll give you a bigger salary than you would have expected to get. We'll give you the same salary we're giving Mr. Whitaker. All you have to do is appoint Mr. Robles as assistant general manager, for which he has no qualifications. After all the letters in opposition, our president spoke and surprised everybody by saying, I'm going to just make a motion that we appoint Mr. Robles. And so, without any discussion at all, there was a 3-2 vote and Mr. Robles was appointed. Now, just before we had our meeting, our general manager, Mr. Whitaker, sent an email saying, because of COVID and because of PFAS, and he didn't say this, but I wouldn't be surprised if he thought because of the chaos that's being caused by this attempt to put Mr. Robles into a high-paying job that could spike his PERS, I don't want to leave. I'm not leaving. And he gave us 4 months' notice. And we had only spent a little bit, if anything, on the Roberts Consulting Group. So suddenly we have a general manager that wasn't within the Brown Act. And furthermore, we had created a new position, a second general manager position, nothing that had ever been contemplated before. We were going to have a second general manager that didn't go through our normal review process. It didn't go to finance audit to see if we could afford this. It didn't go to administration to see if we wanted to do the reorganization. We were going to have a general manager, so we would have 2 violations of the Brown Act. We would have one in that we appointed a general manager, right like that, on December 3rd. And we were going to really make a gift of public funds because we were going to fund this, as you can see from today's agenda item, at $275,000 for 6 months, because that's what it reads, and I will now read into the record. Compensation. The SIGM, meaning the Special Interim General Manager, shall be paid $275,000, payable installments on regular payroll dates and subject to normal conditions. So a huge salary is going to be paid to Mr. Robles. So in effect, because we were creating a second bogus position without going through our normal ways, and because this is a violation of our state law that created this agency that talked in terms of a general manager and the general manager, only one general manager, we were going to give public funds, a gift of public funds to Mr. Robles. Something that should concern any board member that voted for that motion on December 3rd and votes for this motion on December 17th. How did we get here? Remember when we were only concerned about putting clean, clear, drinkable water in the basins? How did we get here where we were worried about Mr. Robles and could he have a nice paying job, a high paying job that could spike his PERS that didn't require him to work? No, I'm not even close to finished. There's a lot of issues here. For 50 years in California, as I stated earlier, it's been the law that a public employee has a property interest in his job or her job. And that person cannot be forced out without cause. For someone to turn around and give you, or to change his mind and give you 4 months' notice that they're not leaving, that they're going to fulfill that contract, cannot be just thrown aside because a crony of 3 members of this board want to find a soft landing for a friend of theirs, a pal, someone who needs to spike their purse. It's quite evident that this whole contract is misleading because it will cost us $40,000 and $2.5 million. And as a matter of fact, it's going to cost us much more. But we have to know these things when we go forward. That all we're doing here is forgetting what our real mission is, and that is clean, clear, drinkable water in the basins. Our mission has become finding a spot for Albert Robles. We are going to make a gift of public funds by creating this bogus, fake, fraudulent second general manager position where he has all the duties, all the authority of the general manager. How can you figure that out? Who's in charge? We've created this completely brand new position, not called for in our administrative code or in the California statutes, and we funded it at $275,000 if we vote on this contract. It hasn't been amended. It hasn't been no interlineation to change it. I don't even think well, I'll leave that to the side. Now, what do I suggest we do? I am the person that our president sent a letter or an email to saying, do you want to talk? I am the one who responded, I'm willing to listen. I'm not driving this thing. It's not my job to tell her, oh, I think we ought to have this candidate or that candidate. Here's what I want. Here's what I've always wanted. Let's do the search. Let the most qualified person come to the fore. If that's Albert Robles, fine. That's Albert Robles. And I sense a shifting because he doesn't have any engineering background, any hydrology background, any supervision of people for 7 years that we require. He doesn't have any construction management supervision, all those things that will not help him if he should apply with anybody else that is qualified. A shifting in their letter to in the president's letter to the 7 state legislators and in the 9 Congress people, all 16 from this area. She writes, you know what, maybe we don't need an engineer. In fact, I don't think we need an engineer. We need somebody with political acumen and policy experience and media savvy. Those things are more in Mr. Robles' lawsuit, so to speak. So they're going to shift this whole thing to put it over to something that he would look better in with this application. They're not going to look for somebody that can build a $100 million brackish water desalination plant in the Torrance area that will clear up 600,000 acre feet. They're not look for someone who can do that. They want to shift. They want to shift the qualifications. And then, come about June or July, when Mr. Robles' 6-month contract, if and when this passes, comes about, they're going to turn around and say, well, thank you, you 3 well-qualified people. I'm glad you went through the application process. But guess what? We have Mr. Robles here. And he's such a good guy. And he's doing so well running us for 3 months. Except I think Mr. Whitaker will still be here through December 31st of next year. So what? Oh, Mr. Robles, we'll hire you. Would you work for us for $275,000 for the next 6 months? This is all a sham when they talk about going through another recruitment process and that Mr. Robles won't apply. He won't apply because he doesn't need to. At the end, he'll turn to his 3 votes and say, hey, I fit this. And they'll go, oh, yeah, you fit it. Let's make you that guy. And why won't he get, no, I'm not close, madam.
Well, I'm going to have to put a time limit on you.
You can't put a time on me. I represent Division 3, and we have some things that need to be said here. and they're going to be said.
Well, then I'll have my turn too.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't Mr. Robles want to go through a process? Well, there's some red flags from Mr. Robles that seem to be overlooked. One is, while he was a director here, there was a lawsuit filed against him for sexual assault, sexual harassment. And that lawsuit was settled for an amount of money. That's a red flag. You get that? People look at that. Now, this was not something that was confidential. This was reported in the press, along with the long complaint that underlined it. That's the word. That would cause someone to think, oh, do I want to hire this guy? Second, he's embarrassed this agency why I have been a member. In 2016, the district attorney, with the blessing of the attorney general, sued Mr. Robles because he had decided that not only did he love us, love being his term for us, but he really wanted to go to Carson and be a Carson city councilman. So he had two jobs. He got elected to two places, and he had two jobs. Now when the district attorney came around and sued him saying you have an inherent conflict here, or potential for a conflict, to this district, the Water Replenishment District, not to the city of Carson, the second place he joined, but the first place he was a member with, and said, I want you to pay my legal defense. I want you to pay my legal defense. And a majority of the board voted to go along with that. And the next thing you know, the DA is subpoenaing us to go in front of a grand jury to find out if we're giving a gift of public resource, public funds. That was not a fun experience for me to get a grand jury subpoena. And I do not want to do that again. The board must not have enjoyed it either because we scurried back to our board meeting, and the special board meeting withdrew our decision to fund his defense. So there's two red flags that you would think that any decent firm that's looking at people would look at and say, do we want this guy? Remember when all we cared about was putting in clean, safe, drinkable water in the basins, and now all we're worried about is Mr. Robles? And where is it in here that he says in this agreement we're about to vote on that I want PERS covered in here? Oh yeah, we got to have PERS covered in, so that I can have a nice spike. How do I know he wants a nice spike? Because the second phone call he made to me was on the night of November 19th, when we had just avoided making him the assistant general manager of operations, and Mr. Bestie, the general manager. And Mr. Robles told me, John, I got to be frank with you. I'm 51 years old. I need more money in my PERS account. What does that mean? It means he needs to spike it. He wants to spike it. That's right in here. And that's not the first time I've told this board that. He needs to spike this. Now we have some great projects. We have some great projects in the works here. We have this brackish water project in Torrance. It's going to make the basins more reliable, more sustainable, able to avoid droughts like we're going into. No one's going to want to partner with a board that's so erratic, so unstable, so focused on pals and cronies and soft landings and spiking, PERS. That's not a reliable partner that you want to do business with. We have a great opportunity to help the basins and help Southern California become more drought resistant by partnering with the City of Los Angeles and their Department of Water and Power. They're not going to want to partner with people that are erratic. We must remember that our job is not finding a safe spot, a nice lucrative salary that does not require Mr. Robles to do any work that pays him a great salary and spikes his pension. We have to get back to making sure that we put clean, clear, safe, drinkable water in the basins. I urge my colleagues to vote no on this. Thank you.
That concludes your vote?
Yes, it does.
All right. Well, everybody's had a chance to speak, and I'm going to speak. I was not going to bring all this up, but I am now because you're disingenuous with the comments you're making. And let me go back to September. The good old boy wanted to go ahead and decide who was going to be the successor for the GM position and who was going to be the assistant GM. Uh-oh, I'm getting it, right?
That's Chicken Murray's phone beat, Kevin. You didn't want me to mute him.
You guys had it all figured out what you were going to do and who was going to get promoted. And then, because I had concerns, I wanted it on the agenda to be open. I don't like these backroom deals and who gets anointed in these positions. I put it out there for discussion. You guys it was unveiled. And I was very careful that I didn't want to go stoop as dirty and low as you're doing today. But I'm going to tell you, the good old boys, the good old white boys didn't get what they want, and maybe this pastors have something to say about the prejudiceness of this WRD board. You mentioned a red flag. Well, let me mention a red flag. Didn't we have a lawsuit, a discrimination lawsuit against our wonderful WRD director? And I know that you're looking at me, Mr. Legal Counsel, but it's part of the public record.
It's a public record.
Public record. There was a lawsuit against him for discrimination. Okay. Well, little boys stick together, don't they? You talk about let's do the search. Absolutely, let's do the search. You talk about a quid pro quo. Excuse me. Those are fighting words. Those are very serious words, and you as a member of the bar should be very careful how you try to influence voters. Now, talking about way back in September, in October, when it came before us, our wonderful general manager suggested that we have 2 GMs. It was his idea. It was his idea that said when we were in the coffee room, and there were not a quorum of the board, there was only one other board member, and he said, you know what? Albert Robles would make a great general manager for Central Basin. And if you're out there, Central Basin, just watch to let you know that. He would make a great general manager. We are misrepresenting the truth. Let's go to the administrative body governance. We're actually creating another general manager, because very clearly in the water code, the Water Master Code administrative body, the duties of the general manager of WRD or any person acting on behalf of the administrative body are limited to the powers of the administrative body. That's us. Okay, so if we say we want to bring in an interim person, it's not a general manager. I never wanted this general manager to be hired, so let me put that out there. But in this whole discussion, I mean, I looked around the state and I kept thinking, okay, what's going on? What is the problem with having a former board member be a general manager or someone in the top executive hierarchy of our board? The Felicitas Water District hired a 16-year board member, president, Dale Mason, as a GM. His previous background was an auto insurance broker with a bachelor's degree. The Padre Dam hired 12-year board member CPA, and the OK Water District hired an 18-year board member, Mark Waltman. Mark only had a high school diploma and owned a small waste disposal business. He filed bankruptcy a few years before becoming the GM. So it's not unprecedented to have a former board member, and for all accounts, they did a good job, serve as a top executive.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're getting complaints from the audience. There's a lot of echo. Would it be okay if I did
Mute, Director Murray, while you're speaking.
All right, Director Murray, we're going to have to mute you because the background is coming up. But if you want to speak, just hit *5 on your phone. Is that better now? No echo? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now I lost my train of thought. Can you believe that? With respect to the salary and the compensation, you go over and over. It's $275,000 over a 12-month period of time. It is not a 6-month period salary. I'm going to put that out there so we can quit hammering on that. This is a special position, and I think the ratepayers would be very happy that WRD is trying to look at our structure. We have 3 top executives making $1.5 million. 3. May I mention I said 3? Then you have in this operation 11 managers, who only 2 are Latinos, or Hispanics. Those 11 managers are responsible for, 33 employees? So every manager, if you want to just round it out, supervises 3 people? And these managers make close to $200,000 a year. Do you think the ratepayers don't want us to look into how bloated WRD has become? With the announcement of this retirement and the announcement of another retirement of one of our assistant general managers happening within probably a 6-month period of time, I thought this was an opportune time to restructure, reorganize, upside, top, bottom. And my goodness, because I objected to your good old boy deal that you wanted certain people to be the general manager and a certain person to be promoted to be the assistant general manager, you guys went off on a guerrilla warfare. You talked to our elected officials. You had the union people talk to union people. You talked to, all out there. This bad negative press. This should have been a family discussion. Instead, it went out there to the open. And now, we're a laughing stock. It's going to take me a year, 6 months to a year. It'll take all of us 6 months to a year to redeem our good name. And let me not forget one other point, since we're making little points here. Do you realize that these same people criticizing us at one time wanted to do away with the Water Replenishment District? These same people that criticize us did not support the Vanderlands, the Goldwater projects, and at the beginning were on board with us with the Albert Robles Center in Pico Rivera, and then as time went on, started dropping off, and yet with the leadership and the tenacity of Albert Robles, WRD went forward. And look at where we are now, totally self-sustainable. We do not have to buy imported water from the Delta or the Colorado River. That was a pretty darn good decision. And that speaks to the ability of an individual that you guys want to trash. And okay, let me just say, Water Master, I told you about the administrative rules. There is no violation. There is no quid pro quo. There is no dealing. The dealing was in the back room when this all started back in October, and I happen to say I don't agree with you. So, the intimidation that was leveled at members of this board, I'm going to go to the DA's office, I'm going to report this, and who, from a former DA employee, no less.
Now, wait a second.
Okay, no, you are not going to interrupt me.
Well, you
are not going to interrupt me. Now, you will have an opportunity to speak again. Whether it was you or not, the whole fact that a board member was intimidated by going to law enforcement agency, I'm going to say this right out. Nobody broke the law. And if you want to go to the DA, you want to go to whatever law enforcement agency you want, I welcome that scrutiny. I welcome it. Because I'm getting accused of things that I really, really think is misplaced and badly misplaced. But not only did the intimidation against the board member, let's talk about the intimidation of trying to challenge the competency of a board member. And yet that challenge never came when you got all the other decisions. I mean, all the raises that were given to the employees within the last year. Come on. You can't, that's double standards, that's hypocrisy. How dare you go after a board member like that with such personal accusations that are insulting? Shame on you for that.
What are you talking about? Excuse me, Madam President.
No, I don't want to recognize you. You give me my opportunity to finish, and that's going to be...
What you said is unclear to me. Could you explain what you're talking about?
No, I'm not going to embarrass. No.
You're rattling on with all this...
Oh, where's John rattling on?
With all of this hyperbole with no facts, okay?
Oh, I have facts. So we'll get to that point in a minute. Well, you know, while we're discussing this, I'm gonna ask that we place on the next agenda, Mr. General Manager, an item that deals with an investigation on these folks that went to the point, if any illegal activity was taken care of or done, be investigated. Let's bring that up at the next agenda. We can't do action on that today. I understand that. But the defamation and the deal of an employee who happens to be the president of AFSCME decides he's going to go to the whole labor community and tell them he's removed an endorsement of me in my as the elections. Well, two things. The election's over, and I am very concerned that word is getting out there. So we need this investigation. I want answers. When we go to the next meeting, I'll put out all the questions I have specifically. But there's some pretty darn ugly stuff going on here at WRD. I'm the new kid on the block, and I don't like it, and I will continue to speak up. What's wrong with you guys? See if I caught everything. And this is, it was okay when the general manager said, yeah, we're going to have an overlapping of two general managers when these, blah, blah, blah. All that was fine. Had all these months to bring up some other ideas. These Baptist ministers, bless your heart. I think we do have what did he say? Moreover, these facts taken together with reports that a succession plan was covertly afoot to quietly, without a transparent process, promote a white assistant general manager to be WRD's new general manager, and then promote another white employee to the anticipated vacant assistant general manager position, but was foiled by the black and brown members of WRD coming together should indeed be applauded. So, I can read more and more. I can say to the responding, I'm going to respond to every one of these letters personally, but how dare you bring it to the gutter like this? Shame on you. Now, who wants to speak?
Yeah, Madam
Mr.
President.
Catherman.
Yeah, let's go through the, first of all, the fiscal impact of this contract. It says here that there's significant cost savings identified. Since you wrote the staff report, it was not written by the staff itself, but by the board president. Could you identify for me the significant cost savings?
Well, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out if the current general manager is making in excess of $500,000 a year, and he's going to be gone. Now, when he's going to be gone will be a discussion that we take in closed session. But then you have an interim special general manager who's willing to take a salary of $275,000 a year. That's on the record. I think that's a big savings. And I can go, for now, that's the obvious one.
So in the contract, it says under section 4.2, the term of the agreement will be for 6 months following the commencement date, and thereafter, this agreement shall then be subject to a 30-day notification of termination. So what this tells me, and our general counsel can correct me, that we will be stuck with Mr. Robles until we have an affirmative vote and at which time he will be allowed to be paid for the following 30 days. Is that correct, Mr. General Counsel?
The way it's written, that is correct.
Didn't that
So
get...
this is not a 6-month contract, this is an indefinite contract, Madam President.
And I disagree with you, and I don't want to, go into much...
Madam President, it says it right here. I'm reading it as a direct quote. I'm not making this up.
Can you calm down a little?
I'm very calm, thank you.
No, you're not. Okay.
You're trying to talk over me.
I cannot believe Okay.
And I asked the General Counsel, not you.
So that
Last time I checked, you don't have a law degree, do you?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
So I'd like the General Counsel to respond, please.
And he did respond. And is it not true, General Counsel, this is a tweak into the language that can be tweaked?
Members,
It wasn't intended to be anything more.
the difficulty with this particular contract is that it's an executive contract, and these contracts have very special requirements. First and foremost, it cannot be brought to the board or approved unless it's a regularly scheduled meeting. And the reason for that is to essentially enable the public to have the contract available for review no less than 72 hours. And that's why I wanted to make sure we had a contract that we agreed on, Albert and myself. Presenting this contract in this fashion creates a significant difficulty to then amend it over the ongoing 72 hours and then come forward with a revised contract that doesn't look like the contract that was placed before the public. So I pretty much left it intact. I did talk to Mr. Robles about the salary issue, and he indicated to me that the salary is supposed to be a yearly salary.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and...
The 275 is the yearly salary?
That's what he indicated to me when I spoke to him.
Okay, that needs to be clarified as well.
Yeah, it's also
Yeah,
very
there's some
ambiguous.
clarifications. But you know what? I think we might have lost one of our board members, and so I'll call for the vote, be on the record of where we stand.
Do you have 2/3 vote?
What?
You can call for the vote all you want, but unless you have
Oh, okay, well then...
four directors, I mean, there's still a lot of stuff to talk about here.
Okay, well then, eventually we're going to lose the quorum because there's other folks that have to leave. I'm getting text.
Let's take the vote. This is Murray. Let's take the vote.
Okay. I have some additional questions.
Director Murray, Director Allen says we cannot call for the question.
I didn't say you could not. I said, do you have 4 votes?
We don't have, he can count. We don't have 4 votes to call for the question. So what I'm saying is if we've lost one board member,
Has
and we're going to
Sergio
lose another.
abandoned us? Has Sergio abandoned us? He's not voting with us anymore?
I think the text I got that he had left.
Excuse me, what does voting with us anymore mean? Does that mean that there's a violation of the Brown Act and that you guys got together and figured out this contract?
Absolutely not.
Scam?
Absolutely not.
Sure sounds like it.
It certainly does.
I've spoken to Willard Murray about this item, so please stop that because you're going to have to...
Where is Sergio?
I think he left, Director Murray.
Well, we don't have the damn votes then. Why
If you're going along with me, you're right.
Willard may not know what the motion is, but he can count votes.
That's insulting. Director Kaplan, behave yourself.
Oh, why? You're not.
I'm the chair of this body right now, and I'm trying to at least...
Well, anyhow, if Sergio is gone, we don't have the votes now, so we might as well get over with it. We can't do anything.
Murray, you confirm that you and I have not discussed the general manager position at all, that we did not violate the Brown Act? They seem to think we're in cahoots.
Well, let them think what they want to think.
Just be having smart people stay together. Okay, so look, I'm going to pull up and leave. You can go ahead and do whatever you want.
We need Sergio.
He's not here. So you need 3 votes to pass this.
Can you get it?
The way it sounds. Goodbye, time out.
So are we adjourning the meeting?
Well, you're in charge because our vice president is gone, your president's gone, so one of you wonderful smart gentlemen take over.
Oh, okay. So is Willard still on the line?
Yes.
Okay, then who's the most senior? John?
You're the treasurer. I'm the director.
Okay, okay.
Willard is the secretary.
Okay. So then let's continue item 7 till the next meeting.
Yes, let's
And
go.
we're going to Item 8, fiscal year 2020 comprehensive annual financial report. We have a recommendation from the Finance and Audit Committee to receive and file this report. Do I have a motion to do so?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 One point of clarification, if I could, I know our auditor is on the line. I think they need to read something potentially into the record.
Okay, let's do that before we vote.
Vasquez is on the line. If you could press star 5, please. Lawrence, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So is Vasquez on the line, Lawrence?
Yes, the watercolor procedure is.
Excuse me. There was a motion on the contract to approve the contract. I now call for the question on the contract.
Okay, so going back to item number 7 then, we have a motion to approve the contract for Albert Robles as the interim general manager to act on behalf of the administrative body during the transition period, conducting the recruitment of the general manager and performing other duties as assigned. So I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Roll call.
Murray, aye.
Aye. I'm in favor.
Murray, aye.
I'm sorry. I'm against it.
Okay.
I'm in favor
So-
of the motion to call the question.
Okay. So we've got 3 votes to call the question.
Correct.
That's all
Okay.
that requires is 3 votes.
Okay. So then the main motion then to approve the contract with Albert Robles, appointing him as a special interim general counsel. Do I have any further comments? If not, we will vote on that item. So roll call, please.
Director Allen?
No.
Director Calderon? Director Catherman?
No.
Director Murray?
Aye.
President DeWitt?
Okay. Motion fails.
One. Did Madam President vote?
Yeah.
She's left the chambers, yes. Director Murray, she is gone.
Okay, so that item,
That fails. The motion fails.
what was the vote?
The vote was
2-1.
2-1. Or 1-2.
If we had 2 members not voting, why weren't the 2 members voting?
Because neither member was in the room or on the line.
So I move we put that item over until our next meeting.
The motion's
Denied. You were not in the, no motion to reconsider is necessary.
You're not.
You voted in the negative.
You're in the minority, Director Murray. I apologize.
You wish to switch your vote to negative? Director Murray?
Yes.
For a motion to reconsider, you have to be in the winning side. You wish to switch your vote to negative?
No.
All right.
Okay. All right. Then item 7 is disapproved.
I want to make sure we bring this item up at our next meeting.
I don't see any reason to. Fail.
The board has taken an action. And the only way it can be brought up is...
Director DeWitt, walk out the building. Whatever time it is, it's 2:31, and just saw her walk out the building.
Okay. For the record, would you please note that, Dina?
Will do.
All righty. Now, Lawrence, your long-awaited discussion with us on item 8 is here.
Take as much time as you want.
Want to be Christine Vasquez, right?
Yes, California State Water Code requires the district to complete an annual audit within 6 months after the close of the fiscal year. And now I turn over to Christine Canada from the audit partner from Vasquez and Company. She is going to present the fiscal year 2020 year-end closing result.
She's unmuted.
Okay. Christine, are you here?
Yes, thank you, Lawrence. Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah.
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christy Cañeda. I am the lead government partner at Vasquez and Company, the district's independent financial and compliance auditor for the fiscal year ended June 30, 2020, and I am here to present to you the results of our audit of the district. I believe we have distributed a copy of the presentation materials to you. If you could please turn the page to page 1, which has the agenda for this presentation. In the interest of time, I'm going to just quickly go over with you the scope of the services that we have provided to the districts, the levels of assurance that we have provided as well based on the scope of the services, the results of the audit, which include the required communication to the members of the board of directors, and lastly, the new accounting pronouncements, which is for your informational purposes only. If you could please turn the page to page 2, which has the scope of the services. So part of our engagement is to conduct an audit of the district's financial statements as of and for the year ended June 30, 2020. We are also required to provide assistance to the city in compiling all the information for the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, or CAFR, for the same period. And because the district spent and got reimbursements from federal grant programs in an amount that exceeded the threshold of $750,000, the single audit in accordance with the uniform guidance is required to be performed for the same fiscal year as well. We also, as part of the value-add service that we provide to our clients, we make ourselves available year-round to the district for any consultation that is necessary on the financial and accounting matters. At this point, I would like to reiterate to you that management is responsible for the financial statements. Our responsibility as your independent auditor is to render an opinion as to the reasonableness of the district's financial position and results of operation. I also would like to confirm that Vasquez and Company meets the independence requirements of the government auditing standards, and that the firm and all the members of the audit team are independent of the district, its management and employees, including all the members of the board of directors. Would you please turn the page to page 3, which has the levels of assurance to the district. Under normal circumstances, we are only required to perform an audit of the district's financial statements. However, because the district is also subject to single audit for this year, we are required to perform an audit in accordance with the government auditing standards and the Single Audit Act, or the uniform guidance. As a result, we are required to issue 3 types of reports to the district. The first one being the report